Zena. Hypocrites, Part 1. Milena. I promise full context, and I'll be using this thread to track my posts as I make them. I would not be making this public if they didn't turn it into content after painting me as some unstable, toxic psycho to the server after I left for space. And I have to say, Milena's document is really well put together. I'm very impressed with the way that she communicates. It can be a lot. I'm breaking it up to make it easier to come back to in pieces. The earlier pieces are tamer, but quickly ramp up to truly inexcusable treatment. I'm providing it all for full context. But if you want to see the real offenses, start at day 5. Also, hi YBE, hope you're doing well. And guys, if you like the content, please remember to subscribe, super chat, share my stream around if you can. I greatly appreciate it. Or become a member. You get exclusive access to the drama channel in the Discord if you do. Okay. The way we were in the conflict that broke us. Important background context. I said I would share the full context. It's time. There's a lot to go through, so I'll split it up and mark them in a master thread. There are bits of info that I'd like to include for clarity, but the full text of which is largely supplemental. I'll specify when. This is to make sure that if someone doubts my interpretation, they can see the original text and decide for themselves. But if you don't want to read all of that, please feel free to skip it. I want to provide context to how we were before, then go into the initial conflict. This is from just before everything started. We've been friends for months, and I had been a close confidant for Poppy for over 2 years at that point. Note how supportive and warm Zena was. My role in their lives was positive, my support helpful. Then came the conflict. So this is just Milena proving that she had always been a positive influence in their life, all right? She had never been antagonistic prior to this, okay? Yo, Lissy. No, I thought I already said... Oh, wait. Oh, you're talking to YBE. Okay. What is FNG? Or FNW? What does that mean? Okay. All right. So let's just... We have Zena here to help us read these. Wait, how do I mute it? How do I make it so it doesn't move when I'm talking? So it doesn't change. I should have figured that out. Wow, thank you. I worked very hard on this for you guys. OMFG, I love this. 10 out of 10 approve. Thank you. Okay, wait. I need to figure out how to mute it so it doesn't move. Does anybody know VitoTube? How to mute it so it doesn't move? Wait, let me see if this does anything. Check. Nope. What does this do? Okay. No. What the am I just gonna have to do? Okay. All right. I'm just gonna have to do where I just like show them and hide them. Okay. All right. So Zena says, if it was a psychological trigger, she most would have worked through it or be able to identify it. I know it's hard with long distance relationships. You really do help Poppy. I know it's hard that you can't do more, but just know that even you being there for her is still helping. Milena says, I know, or at least I think I know. I just always wish I could do more, but that's just me. Well, I will remind you that you're important anytime because you are. Miss Milena says, caretaking is a thing for me. I feel like after everything I've been through, I've had kind of a reset on understanding how to engage with it. So I kind of need to relearn how to moderate. Then Miss Milena sends an emote and Zena says, you're important to both of us. You are. You really do make our lives better. Miss Milena sends an emoji, then Zena says, as far as caretaking, the stuff that Poppy and I deal with isn't something that can simply be fixed. So we really rely on people to keep being there and to keep on working through stuff with us. Being you and continuing to show up really does mean the world. So that's the proof that Milena provides to show that she was a positive influence on their life, okay? Zena did this with Noe too. Oof. Yeah. I worked very hard on these for you guys. I hope you know, okay? Day 1. These screenshots are from the volunteer editors chat. They have volunteer editors, by the way. Volunteer video editors. I think they pay them a little bit, but like, they have volunteer editors. Okay, anyways. These are supplemental, but give context for my initial conflict with Zena. TLDR, one of the editors made some casual comments and DMs to Poppy about a video she was editing, as well as asking about raising her rates. Okay, now let's get started here. Poppy, video editors, we need to have a talk about a few things, starting with pricing. I'll be frank, I cannot pay I cannot pay blank, and I am frustrated with her offering so much because it has thrown off things because we had a relatively simple setup. There's no reason why we, blank, should be paying differently unless the content is different, but it still needs to be within reason. I propose a sit down to discuss the rates for editors. While bonuses are fine, paying far over what others can on a regular basis throws off things, but with priorities and asking rates of the editor pool. People need to think about this before they just throw out numbers. I will be posting screenshots of the channel's income to illustrate that in a second post. The second thing is that I need to discuss some things that are going to be a deal breaker going forward. The whole point of being a volunteer for the channel is that you believe in the work that Zena and I do. That desire to see the work out there is supposed to be the driving force of volunteering, not just payment. But this is just a gig. I do not want you to volunteer. If you disagree with us on that take, that is fine. But if you disagree with fundamental concepts on this channel, such as inclusivity, offense versus harm, etc., you shouldn't be working for us. It is like a cult. It is. Should they be minor issues, those disagreements should never come into discussions about editing and volunteering unless you are recusing yourself from a video. Bringing these things up to me is grounds to not assign that video or videos to the editor because I have concerns about implicit biases creeping into the editing process, not to mention the above problem with volunteering. That needs to be put aside when you edit our videos, and disagreements need to be saved for after the video has been out for at least a week. I say a week because the immediate pressure after a video comes out and dealing with the comments and Twitter is stressful. My answer to you in DMs will be pressured, irritated, and terse before and a week after that video comes out, especially if it is between 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. EST because I'm at work. It is not productive. But beyond that, let me be very direct. I have multiple relationships with several of you, blank. And at least 3 of you are tech support for my stupid ass. I don't mind these multiple relationships because I believe you all are mature adults that can separate out which role you are in currently. But please understand, I have to be aware of this constantly because I am one of the co-hosts of the show in a / relationship with some of you. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do that. And that is nothing to say about the potential of parasocial relationships. Please do me the courtesy of doing the same and being aware of which role you are playing and what time. If that can't be done, not only does the foundation project fail in utero, but it means I have to start limiting the number of relationships I have with each of you, and I don't want to do that. Look, I'm not trying to intimidate or hurt anyone's feelings, but I need people to be aware of this because the ball has now been dropped a few times. I do not want to have to go back to throwing together made videos in shortcut, but I will if that means clearer relationships. Poppy. You know who else has relationships with vulnerable people? They draw in who also do work for them? Cults. Exactly. Yeah, no, I was just making that analogy yesterday. You know, Scientology had a history of making people work for free for them and do incredibly huge amounts of labor. And same thing with, you know, those troubled teen schools. The ones where parents pay somebody to come and kidnap their kid in the middle of the night. That's like the environment it felt like Spawn was in. And it feels like they kind of run their place kind of like that, you know? Nexium. Yeah, absolutely. Strangely, the fish's eyebrows are better than Poppy's. The Poppy fish looks more like Poppy than it has any right to. I'm glad you guys like it, okay? Jenny, thank you for joining membership. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jenny. Okay. Alexis replies, I think this is entirely more than fair and am more than willing to sit down and discuss having a standard for editors in the foundation, and also echo the sentiments about volunteering and disagreements. I have not had this issue yet, but it is statistically bound to happen. Or you should do voice work. This is actually good. Your voice is so crisp. Thank you. Okay. And then Poppy says this. Blank also on the drive. And then she posts like this thumbnail. Okay. Zena and Poppy have a habit of reacting first and processing later. They were dealing with a lot, but before resolving the issue in private with the editor and then bringing the conclusions to the chat, Poppy just unleashed this ultimatum. The tone of it was jarring. As one of the editors, it felt really intense to suddenly read something like this. I reached out in the group chat I had with Zena and Poppy to ask more and check on them. This is important because of my final message here. I explicitly asked what form of support they would like. This is important, so pay attention to it, okay? So, Miss Milena says, yo, can I ask what happened to prompt that message to the editors? From what was said, I am assuming that I'm not the problem cog, but my brain would like reassurance. Then Zena says, nope, not you. Blank has issues with basic things that we believe and advocate for. She took that to just Poppy and DMs. Frankly, if I have to learn how to do video editing myself, I will. Because at this point, I really need to be there to be line and actual consequences for when people target Poppy alone and erase me. Milena says, sigh. Sorry, love. Then ZZ says, hugs. Then Poppy is here. Poppy says, the big issue is that, oh wait, that's Zena's voice. The big issue is that Blank thought it was appropriate to try to debate me about the anti-theism video while also saying she wanted to work on the anti-theism video. And I think that's a conflict of interest. ZZ's take is that by combining these two things, not only is it the conflict of interest, but now it should be involving them, which I agree with because now it's channel issue. This is on top of the fact that she had messaged before she went to bed last night and asked to increase rates, most likely because Blank offered her a significantly larger amount because Blank can afford that. Miss Milena says, are you looking for my opinion or input on the situation, or do you just need support and comfort now? Now, look at the timestamp here, guys. Timestamps are, Poppy sent this message at 4:17 p.m. Miss Milena sent this message at 5:23. The timestamp is important because it gives some context. What kicked the situation in high gear, though, was Zena's response in the editor chat, where they decided that it was appropriate to call the editor out by name in volunteer chat. This editor is a beast and does majority of the editing for the channel. Zena ignores that. Hi, Simbala. So I can read it better. Okay, here it is. Zena says, editor, I need to be clear about something. Your behavior crossed a massive line for me and broke my boundaries too. It was inappropriate of you to take your issues with stuff said in videos solely to Poppy in personal DMs. I understand that you're friends with my partner, but this is exactly how Poppy gets targeted for harassment and I get erased. In our line of work, harassment can and does come from our friends. If you have problems with our videos, then it comes to the both of us. No excuses. I do not feel comfortable with you on the editor team after this behavior. This isn't a decision, but just my feelings on the moment. Then the editor called out responds, I don't have you added as a friend. Why? And moreover, how would I come to you about a disagreement? You're both making mountains out of molehills. Nobody's being harassed here. I just disagree with something that Poppy specifically said. I hadn't even watched the video enough to know what your thoughts were by that point. You claiming I violated your boundaries is incredibly silly. I wasn't disagreeing with you. And if you want to call that erasure, be my guest. But I don't think that's a valid excuse, given the context of me literally not knowing what you said to disagree with it. Right now, you're injecting yourself into a fight between me and your partner / my friend, and putting me on blast in a space that is meant to be for working purposes. I didn't say anything about Poppy's post because she didn't make it personal and it wasn't relevant, and my piece was said privately. You are the one violating my boundaries by outing who the issue is about and why. I understand wanting to defend your partner. This is silly and out of line, and you both need to calm down. You both are antagonizing the person who's done the most work for you because of me, bluntly, disagreeing at the wrong time for your stress. For your taste. It sounds like this volunteer editor practically carried the channel on her back for pennies. Should have went with the higher paying job instead of staying here. Yeah. Also, high PR 420. Genuine question, is that person senile? Who? Okay. Then Zena replies, let me be clear. You've always had access to me You just didn't use it. If you read any of the rules on the server and hit the emoji to get in here, then you should know better. We have an entire system to start tickets. I am not going to stay silent about people acting inappropriately and DMs to my partner. The editor replies, I'm not going to argue with you or her about this. He said, end of discussion. Zena says, this is not a public chat anyway. Let me make myself clear. I am the other half of this channel. Just because my partner generally handles organizing this section of the server doesn't mean that I'm not here. You've been here long enough where you should know better. I have said multiple times and multiple videos that both Poppy and I need to be addressed on issues. I'm not going to hide when this happens. We just dealt with a situation. They got extremely bad, in part because Poppy and I let everyone have their privacy out of respect. Again, this behavior turns into harassment and does actual harm to Poppy. This behavior also does very real damage to mine and my partner's relationship. These issues fester in the background and come up with really strange times. I am going hard and firm right now because these issues cause very real harm to people. You do not think that I belong on messages where you have issues with our content, then you do not belong here. Period. If anyone's behavior is not up to standards, they will not be on this team. You are not the only person on this team. There are a lot of other people who have helped make this channel work. This is a volunteer position. Then Poppy says, I am pausing this conversation until we can sit down and discuss this in VC. People are heated and are saying things that are not helpful. Zena has purple hair even. I worked very hard. I did Photoshop on these, okay? Just one moment, guys. 1 second. Okay, back. Sorry, there was a spider. Okay, the tone is tyrannical and intense. There's no, hey, we're both people, let's talk this over. Just a rageful iron fist. Still, at the time, I just saw people getting upset and things getting out of control outside of the private conversation that should have happened. Later, we hopped into the private chat room reserved for the polycule and close friends called Lovely People. Remember that. They like to vent in chat, so they brought up the situation with the editor, who I was friends with. Poppy shared the screenshots of their DMs. This is one of 2 parts that I can't provide proof for because it was over VC. I asked if they wanted me to respond as I read or if they wanted me to finish reading first. They said to respond as I went. What I read felt like a blurring of lines between the work/friend roles. I said that it seemed like a basic misunderstanding. I mentioned that the editor is autistic, as am I, so it would be simple as having a conversation to establish future guidelines, and it would be fine. Poppy argued that I was missing context from later in the messages. She also said that I was being biased because I was friends with the editor. This is a consistent issue with them. If you disagree with them, it's invalid because of bias or ignorance, not because they could be wrong. However, that point blew up. However, the point that blew this up was me saying that the editor thought things worked differently from how P and Z preferred it. So any exclusion of Zena was unintentional. Zena is extremely sensitive to being excluded. It comes up in videos. Hashtag no ZZ erasure. So they jumped on me. Now remember, let's look at this. Milena saying here at 5:23 p.m. Are you looking for my opinion or input on the situation, or do you just need support and comfort right now? That's Milena asking what they need. They leaned in towards the camera and began aggressively getting in my face, shouting about how it's never intentional and this always happens and how I was just dismissing it. I tried to de-escalate, but Zena kept at it. This is the beginning of all of this. So this is the catalyst for how everything starts to fall apart between Milena and Poppy and Zena. And just so you guys know, Milena is an editor, but she also is intimate with Poppy and seems to be good friends with Zena at some point. I need to stress that despite the signs, up until this point, Zena had been a 100% safe person in my book. Now they were attacking me with no indication of pulling back. I asked if they could take it down a couple of notches. I said that I needed them to stop yelling at me. Hila even asked for a yellow light to slow things down. Twice. She can verify this. They continued, insisting that I didn't understand and that the things I was saying didn't matter. I asked if I should keep reading because it felt like I wasn't allowed to disagree with them. Poppy assured me that that wasn't the case, just that this was sensitive for Zena. I had to go because my dad had just arrived. to hang out for the evening, but something inside of me was unsettled. The way that Zena had refused to back down, no matter how peacefully I tried to express that they were upsetting me, triggered deeply rooted trauma. This trauma spans incidents over decades, including numerous romantic relationships, familial relationships, and most pointedly, an incident with a partner and potential dom where they had an increasingly severe BPD episode that culminated in assaulting me. I needed to make it clear that I'm not holding Zena responsible for that trauma. I'm only sharing this to express how severe and deep the triggers that this tapped into are and how deeply it affected me. After my dad left, I tried to join a group VC with them in it. I couldn't. This is from my chat with P and Z. Things are still largely supportive at this point, but it's important context. I also wanted to point out some things starting at the bottom of the first image. Miss Milena says, "Did Poppy go to bed?"
She just got offline.
Okay.
I can let her know that you're here.
Miss Milena says, "We all need to talk sometime. I want to join the chat because now it makes me feel anxious to the point of nausea. I know you were upset and that now might not be the best time, but we need to talk. I'm not your enemy, and that triggered the shit out of me."
I don't mind talking right now.
Miss Milena says, "Like, I keep trying to just join, but I'm shaking and getting close to crying." Then Zena says,
"We've all calmed down and sorted. You're not the enemy, and I think you unfairly got sucked into a situation where it wasn't clear what kind of help we were needing."
That's an important line here, guys. You got unfairly sucked into a situation where it wasn't clear what kind of help we were needing. Miss Milena just asked, did she not? Did she not just ask, are you looking for my opinion or input on the situation, or do you just need support and comfort right now? Oof. Miss Milena says, you can't talk to me like that. It's not the right time, and we need to reestablish approach or something. If it's not the right time and we need to reestablish approach or something, we need to do that, but I can't handle that. This is my first time opening up since some really rough stuff, and I can't handle that. I need to know that we can recognize volatility and step away from it until we can engage with each other in a non-aggressive way. I know it's irrational and we can talk it out, but what I feel right now is straight up fear.
I'm sorry about being loud. It's something I am working on.
Milena says, it's a lot, and I know that it's not all on you, but I just need it to be clear that I can't do that. I can't. Oof, I am so crying right now. It was just really jarring because I see you as such a safe person. Like, I wish we could just hug it out right now. But that tapped into something, and I can't just, like, casually join a chat with multiple people in it. I'm not stable. I'm sorry. Then Poppy joins. She says, I'm really sorry for getting upset. I'm still recovering from a lot of stuff, and I wasn't trying to be aggressive. Miss Milena says, I think we need to have a talk where we can reestablish a feeling of safety. I don't know when. Poppy,
I think that would be a good idea, because I don't want you to feel unsafe with us.
But I do love you guys, and I hope you know that.
I'm sorry you had to see me like that. I didn't want you in that situation with the intervention you chose.
And then Poppy says, well, and
we love you too.
Milena says, I'm not against you, even when I disagree.
Zena says, I also got all my safety triggers hit. I do get 10 out of 10 angry about situations where people don't consider me. I don't mean to take that out on anyone, but that is the truth of my feelings. And I don't actually know where the volume knob is or if it exists. I'm on higher T than I was before, and I haven't been able to figure that out.
Miss Milena says, can we talk just for a bit tomorrow whenever you're free? The three of us, I mean. And then Zena says,
I would rather just get it done tonight.
Milena says, I'm kind of in a state. Zena says,
Poppy is wanting to stream ASAP. We already missed an appointment with Courtney. I don't know when I'm going to be functional. My preference is to reassure you now instead of having you wait on this.
Milena says, well, I wouldn't say I'm functional right now. It's just a pile of messy estrogen. And then Zena says,
Poppy and I do have to drag out fights. We also make up afterwards.
Milena says, I can't do those. Not anymore. These people are so exhausting. They are. I would be tired all the time talking to these people. And Zena says,
I'm not asking you to. I had a migraine for a week that is causing dizziness and my eyesight to fail, and I'm still getting PTSD nightmares. I don't know when I'm going to be functional. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how far you not wanting to be around fighting goes. It makes me concerned for you coming out. I still have PMDD, and I don't know when I will start.
Miss Milena sends like a crying emoji, and then Zena says,
last time it started, the weekend that Sage was out. and usually I don't know until after I string together a couple of these moments. Honestly, this might be PMDD. It took me several hours to calm down today. This part is very important, guys. The fact that this happened, the last time this happened was when Sage was visiting Zena and Poppy. Sage is another partner of Poppy's, and I guess Sage went out to go visit them. And Zena was having PMDD and must have gone off on her. Miss Milena says in response to this, my main rule is that I can be there for however you need, but the moment it starts being taken out on me, I can't. Let's go through some of this in detail. I think you unfairly got sucked into a situation where it wasn't clear what kind of help we were needing. I explicitly asked what kind of support they wanted. I asked how they wanted me to approach reading and responding to their screenshots. This isn't really big, but it is a sign that even when they're explicitly asked for what they're looking for, they're bad at communicating it. They absolutely are. In hindsight, I can also see how this can be seen as an attempt to enforce behavior, but only from a deeply uncharitable perspective, which you'll see is abundant later on. Yeah. As soon as Zena starts seeing people in an uncharitable, or as soon as Zena has any sort of confrontation with people, she starts viewing everything uncharitably. Still, I'm not trying to burden them with a full trauma dump, only stating an emotional need. But then she shares this screenshot. I also appreciate Poppy's immediate ownership of her part. You can feel her concern for me here. It hurts to read, knowing what comes later. And then this is Zena talking about her triggers. I would later realize how telling this part was. The truth of your feelings does not justify, I don't mean to take it out on anyone. The but feels like a dismissal of the harm inflicted. Not just here, but potentially in other situations. This is how Zena operates. This also strikes me as odd. I'd already mentioned that I was nauseously anxious and crying, but Zena was pushing for the conversation to happen right then. Yeah, and they don't care about anybody else's boundaries. They're so on about their own boundaries. They don't give a about anybody else's boundaries. This is the last time they expressed any concern for not letting/making me sit with this. This is where it starts getting rough. This part is really, really bad. You guys will see. So she talks about Sage having PMDD when, or not Sage, Sage coming over while Zena has PMDD. Oh wait, no, this isn't a recap. This is a next part. Okay. So Zena says this isn't a disorder that I can just stop. I wasn't trying to take anything out on you. I was that upset. The stuff that got is stuff that nearly destroyed the channel. I understand that, but I need you to understand that it's not a matter of the cause or intent. It's a matter of recognizing when that train's getting rolling and diverting it. I can't. PMDD. I do not have the hormones that work properly. Even if I recognize it in the moment and ask you to, I do not get the calm down button. Poppy does. Okay. It lasts for a moment. It's not calm down so much as step away. If you want to get on call, I have no issues, but I literally live with a disorder that pops up out of nowhere and impairs my ability to self-regulate. Okay, do I need to announce it or can I just hang up? You can always just leave. Okay. I wrote the voice rules myself. Those still hold. Milena says, do you want to call now? And then Zena says, I don't know what to even do now. Milena says, I don't understand how this is different from a few minutes ago, but I'm also not exactly in a heightened cognitive state, so okay. Then Zena says, because PMDD started and it just dawned on me, and the best I've got is go in my hidey hole. I'll see you in a week. Milena says, me looking super pathetic won't help because I probably look dumb as hell, not gonna lie. Then Zena says, if this shit triggers you, do not be around me during PMDD. That's not putting down a threat. That's just the reality. And then Milena says, I really don't want to cancel my tickets. Remember when Poppy and Zena were talking to Noe Flake, they were saying, oh, we already booked a hotel room. They use that as justification. So I think this is interesting. Milena brings up the tickets. Okay, so Milena does some explanations here. In the first screenshot, note how I'm starting to nervously joke. Note we have to drag out fights as though it's normal. Note the focus on how hard things are for them as a reason to ignore how hard things are for me. Yeah, they don't give a fuck about their friends. They only care about themselves. I would rather have explosive diarrhea than be Milena talking to these folks. Goddamn, that's rough. I'm gonna be a couple of things here. For one, the first ratcheting up of fear of losing them. We'd been excited about the prospect of me visiting. I'd already bought my ticket. I was so excited to finally hold my girlfriend and hug Zena. Suddenly, any visit is in the question. Yeah, and to act like it's not a threat or it's not like an ultimatum is kind of crazy. This scares me. 2, does this mean that visiting them inherently carries risk?
Does that mean they were going to let me visit without any warning about this kind of situation? Is this kind of intense conflict that normal for them? Do they not realize it's a problem for others? 3. This is referring to a couple of days before Alexis, now public, attempted to take her own life. So Zena is saying here, basically the last time she got PMDD was a couple of days before Sage Alexis tried to take their own life. And Sage Alexis had gone and visited Zena and Poppy a few days before she tried to commit suicide. That is incredibly telling to me. That is incredibly telling to me that Zena is using the PMDD excuse. Something probably happened when Sage went out to visit them. Then a couple of days later, Sage attempted. I was in private feces as support around this incident, but I don't want to speak for her. I'll just say it's weird how this is left out of the story these days, isn't it? And also, look at this. Miss Milena says, I'm glad you're doing relatively okay. I know this isn't the best response personally, but I'm surprisingly angry with Sage. This is before Milena knows anything. Kind of worried about Rain. Really want to hug Poppy. Wish I could just help take some of this off of your plate somehow. Just ugh. I feel hating powerless to help people I care about suffer less. Then Zena, with no empathy for Sage, says, be angry. This person just attempted. This person just attempted, and you're telling somebody to be angry at them? Okay. How on the day of her attempt, when I brought up my mixed feelings about the situation that included anger at Sage, Zena's response was be angry. At this point, I still wasn't aware of the severity of the attempt, and my perspective was framed through P and Z's narrative. They were the primary influence on how I felt about the situation by far, and I'm not proud of my perspective at the time. In a heated moment of private conversation, convinced by Zena that Sage's attempt was manipulation, I said the term emotional terrorism. Wow. So okay. This part is really crazy, okay? So, Milena, hearing it from Zena's perspective and Poppy's perspective is thinking, oh, this person is just doing this, like, for bad reasons, right? Zena was angry because Sage's attempt cut into her alone time. Are you kidding me? Okay, so, yeah. Basically, Milena's saying, I only understood the perspective through their eyes. And so I call this thing emotional terrorism. Okay. Zena says, and people are freaking out about Sage. Lovely. Milena sends a neutral emoji. I think it's more that Sage is freaking people out. This is basically emotional terrorism. And Zena says, well, yes. And especially in our server and our circles, it's very easy to legitimately trigger a ton of people all at once. Miss Milena says, yeah, I'm honestly angry with her. It's one thing to be suffering and need help, but this is all this on hormones. Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Poppy lashed out with that phrase publicly amongst other ones. That is wild that Poppy used this. Poppy tweeted out, I will not negotiate with emotional terrorists, nor will I trust those who choose to do so. Unfamiliar with this term. Poppy says, people who scare the shit out of others on a regular basis, threats of self-harm and suicide to intentionally or unintentionally get attention. Starsona says, I've dealt with that plenty of times. Always extremely jarring. Why does Poppy always tweet out with the pictures? So cringe. Okay, then Poppy tweets this out. I love when people act so emotionally toward Poppy that I have to step in. This is, by the way, tweeted out by her, Penny persona. I love when people act so emotionally toward Poppy that I have to step in. Way to duplicate 15 years of relational trauma. I am not being nice about this shit anymore. Starsona just ate that up with no common sense. Yeah, basically. Later, when I said she shouldn't have, she snapped. It's my Twitter account. I'll say what I want. Penny is a teen boy, right? A teen girl, I think. No, not Penny. Sorry, not teen girl. Penny is the aggressive one. I don't know if Penny is the teen boy. I just know Penny is the aggressive one. That's all I know. And then Pepper or Peppermint. I don't know which one. One of them is the little girl. Okay, anyways. They mentioned that Sage was on video in the VC where Zena jumped on me and that she looked down silently as it was happening. Like it's something that she shuts down around. So they do it to Sage as well. God damn. This is all to say that this is a pattern of behavior that affects more than me. Moving on. It's hard to keep track of Poppy's personas because they are all people. Jesus Christ. Is this the person Poppy flashed her tits to and her to validate her tits? No, it's somebody else. I'm gonna start Twitters called Angry Lissy sad Lissy, bitchy Lissy, and no one can be mad with what I tweet. Yeah, you're gonna put yourself in a group chat with like one person, right? And have all of your accounts just gang up on them. That would be so funny. Okay, I think my personal rule here is very reasonable, but note how Zena's response is to make excuses.
I wasn't trying to take it out on you. I was that upset.
Okay. Yeah, she keeps explaining herself with saying, I can't help it. I don't want to keep going on every detail here because it remains the same. I'm trying to ask how we can navigate PMDD when it pops up. And they keep on hitting me with why it's going to keep happening. Yeah, it seems like, so Milena is really trying to look for a solution here. And Zena's like, it's just going to happen. You have to deal with it. This comes up later. Me asking about leaving calls. Remember this. They just dumped this PMDD definition on me. Yeah, I'm not going to read all this, but yeah, she basically WebMD searches it or whatever and pastes it into Discord. But yeah, this is important for us to remember. Do I need to announce it or just hang up? You can always just leave. Okay. You should read it to understand it better, but the point is that I got hit with this wall of text in the middle of this intense conflict. This is the end of the group conversation that night. I don't want to wait half a year to see you in person. I'll need to read that later. I can't process that right now. Then Zena says,
this is literally me. Every single symptom. Every month I get this, and being on T is better, but nowadays I mostly get the anger. I used to know when it started, but again, I had to trade that out.
Milena says, well, I guess the best crude summary of my situation would be to consider me a battered wife, dipping her toe into being social again. I realized that I explained my situation to just Poppy one night during a meltdown, and I'm not sure how much of that she shared with you. This part is so telling too. Oh my God. Because Zena is so into trauma dumping and just dumping all her personal onto Milena and completely uninterested in Milena as a person. Zena says,
I don't think she did, but I know enough to put 2 and 2 together.
So Milena says, so clearly we can't mix our triggers. And then Zena says,
PMDD ups relationships.
Then Milena says, well, the details are fun and amazing, but some other time. And Zena says,
I don't need the details. PMDD triggers the shit out of Poppy already. It's when we fight the most. I've been around PMDD folks long enough.
Do you track it on a calendar? Is there any way to get an estimate of when it'll come around, or is it not consistent? Still trying to find solutions here. Zena says,
I track it to the best that I can.
And then Milena says, I'm wondering if there's a way to maybe plan my visit around the expected episodes.
But I'm on too much tea for consistency. I just want to get through this week.
Milena says, okay, just let me know when. And then Zena says, I can't. I literally can't. Not anymore. I don't get that luxury. Milena says, I'm sorry. I thought you said that you know when it goes away. And then Zena says, I don't usually know until after my period started. Then Milena says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Zena says,
I used to know, but I'm on too much tea for it to be consistent.
Milena says, I'll go. I'm sorry. Note how my writing style is deteriorating. I'm fully triggered at this point and sinking quickly. I'm willing to bet that the tea is actually making Zena much more aggressive. Okay, note how my writing style is deteriorating. I'm fully triggered at this point and sinking quickly. Zena either doesn't notice or care. It ends with them going all caps at me, which I read as yelling and fully break. I hate the dismissal of, I know how to put 2 and 2 together and I don't need the details. I get to have their justifications piled onto me, but I get filed under some preconception. I'm actively fighting flashbacks to the week I was raped, but it's fine. They get it already. I never got to tell them about how those were related because I didn't want to do it over text. It felt too big to do outside of a voice chat, and in a context where it wouldn't seem like some kind of move I was pulling. I just wanted them to see how this was affecting me. Okay. Now here's Milena talking. This is just day 1, by the way, guys. Milena talks to Poppy. I love you. I love you too. We will talk soon. This direct message to Poppy was all I could manage at that point. I was so scared. That was day 1. PMDD sucks, but this person is just insane. Yeah. Poppy is an pest, plain and simple, with major self-victimization issues. Oh yeah, both of them do. Both of them. Poppy is a pest with victimization issues, and Zena is a loser bitch who makes everybody else's life miserable around them with victimization issues on top of it. Okay. Day 2. I'll also include this private exchange between me and Poppy on day 2, since it's relatively brief and supplemental info. I really like Penny. What are we gonna do, love? About Penny? Give her pets. About me and Zena. I don't know. I think the two of you are going to have to find a way to communicate. I don't know exactly what happened last night. I just know that I was holding them until around 5:30 in the morning when they were crying. And I know you've been struggling too, but I wasn't sure what the best thing to do today was. When I stated that I can't handle being treated a certain way, I was given reasons for why I was treated that way and why it would happen again. When I asked if there was a way to pump the brakes and stop if it's recognized, I was told no. Even if I asked for it in the moment, that I was welcome to just leave if that happened. When I asked if there was a way to plan around it, I was told no and that they might just need a week to calm down. When I said to just let me know when, assuming that a week meant that they needed more time this time, they started yelling at me. Even when I said I misunderstood and that I was sorry and I broke down and just kept apologizing, they just kept telling me how hard it was for them to not get angry. I'm telling you, T increases aggression for sure. I don't know which doc this is or what you've seen so far, but honestly, the Twitter interactions that Poppy has had are just downright diabolical. Just straight up harassment. I haven't seen those yet, Adventum, but I assume we'll get to them. Right now, this is the first Milena doc. So this means that at any given moment, if I happen to disagree with something that happens to be a trigger, Zena might fly off the handle at me, get super aggressive, and not stop no matter what I say or how calm I stay, to the point where they question whether it's a good idea for me to visit at all. And if it happens, it's my problem, and it's on me to figure out how to handle it because it's just going to happen. You can always just leave. Where does that leave me, love? What am I supposed to say to that? How can I get back to feeling safe with that set of conditions? No amount of understanding the causes of this is going to change the fact that this took me back to a place that I can't afford to go back to. And I definitely can't live under the constant fear of being sent to it. Definitely relate to that. I definitely can relate to that. Yeah, definitely relate to that. Very sad. Poppy says, this is the reality of dealing with CZ during PMDD. As far as I can tell, you essentially asked for her to not speak loudly or become angry. I might not be getting that language right, but the problem is that I don't think the language matters so much, is the vibe. And during the time of PMDD, they can't guarantee they are going to be able to hold to that. So the request felt like an impossible task. PMDD functions a lot like BPD, except it's for a shorter time, and it tends to be more intense and less focused on something like abandonment. I'm not saying that you don't need to have a point about who you want to be treated or interacted with, but as someone who has been here with CG for over 6 years, I see them trying, but they're not always successful. We are looking to get them into therapy, and hopefully that will help in some ways. But it's difficult because PMDD is very difficult to treat. By the way, looking for a therapist for 6 fucking years and you could not find one yet? I'm not making excuses, and you're welcome to have the boundaries that you want. It just might mean that during that time, we might be MIA, because if that's the boundary and Zena is concerned that they can't hold to it, that is the only conclusion I can come to. Feel free to ask any questions about the situation, but I think both of you were locked into a mindset last night, and they were antithetical to one another. From what I gathered from the post, it seemed like you were hyper-focused to get Zena to understand a boundary, and heard their explanations as some sort of excuse for why they couldn't hold the boundary, or even try. Zena heard the boundary. The problem is that it put them into a trigger, and they got incredibly afraid that they wouldn't be able to hold to that, and that it would damage the relationships. I ended up isolating them and making them feel very alone. No, not I. It ended up isolating them and making them feel very alone, and I ended up holding them until about 5:30 in the morning. Exactly, it's such an excuse. Poppy says the same thing about BPD. Treatment doesn't work for her. Wild. It's really wild. I will never understand it. I never will. This entire wall of text is nothing but excuses and defending Zena's actions. Yeah. I apologize for any brevity or typos. This is being used with voice to text. For what it's worth, we did identify today that you were partially correct about the fact that we were still reacting to things that happened previously. I can say, for myself, that she was incredibly true with the way I reacted at the blank. I still do think she acted inappropriately, but the severity of how I felt has blunted somewhat since then. As far as what to do between you and Zena, I think the conclusion you both came to last night were frankly absurd, and don't make sense with what you know about each other, but both of you were triggered and went to the worst possible conclusion. So yeah, that's what I've got. I love you. I'm going to bed. I hope to talk to you more tomorrow. Your boundary is a trigger. Yeah. True. But 6 years, if you like, how are you searching for a therapist for 6 years and have not found anybody to help with the PMD? That's crazy. That sounds like a lie. That's what I'm saying. Okay. It's generally positive, but the whole "this is the reality of dealing with Zena" bothers me now because of everything that follows later. Also, boundaries aren't rules. Crossing a boundary isn't necessarily a deal breaker. It can be something to be explored and discussed to develop the relationship into a healthier one. I understand Zena has a hard time with PMDD, so this is all exploratory in my eyes. I like how Milena also, when she writes this whole document, she is actually so charitable while writing this document. She has the ability to be super biased about this, but I think it makes her look really good. The fact that she is super charitable with intentions, she's super charitable with explanations, etc., etc. I also think it's relevant how they identified the fact that I recognize the carryover of emotional response from other situations. If I'm an emotional idiot, I'm not an emotional idiot, and it's odd to me that I get so quickly dismissed. True, far more charitable than they deserve. Yeah, I agree with that. Keep this in mind when they start treating me like one later. Yeah, and then this is as far as between you and Zena, I think the conclusions you both came to last night were frankly absurd. It's crazy. And I'm asking this in earnest. Reading what I've posted so far, can someone please explain to me how the conclusions that I came to at that time were absurd? I accepted it at that time, but looking back, it feels like a wildly false equivocation. It's scary. Is she sending people out in the world with this nonsense? Yeah, her being a therapist? Yeah, dude. Imagine being court ordered to therapy and it ends with someone telling a judge that their boundaries are a trigger. Ah, dude, terrible. How does she function? Okay. We are at day 3 now, guys. Day 3. How are we doing so far? Okay, just give me a second. Jeez, I thought I missed a bunch, but we're just on day 3. Apparently things don't ramp up until day 5. Okay, all right. Just give me a chance to rest my voice here, chat. Check, 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 check. Day 3, mutually assured destruction. This is something that's apparently come up quite a bit with Zena since all of this. I tried to join a group VC in a server, even with the conflict continuing. At one point, people started talking about trusting former exes. This part's unhinged too. I made a joke along the lines of, sometimes mutually assured destruction is the only option. I've been in some really ugly breakups, the ugliest one involving a longtime partner who drunkenly emotionally abused the hell out of me throughout lockdown. I told Poppy about it. When we split, that partner made a Facebook post to our 120 plus mutuals saying that I was the one. I had to threaten to share everything they'd done to me to get them to take it down. That's what I was referring to. Zena, however, took this as a different personal threat, even though everyone else in the chat chuckled, recognizing it as the awkward joke that it was. Ask Hila, she'll confirm. Projection and assumptions start ramping up. Oh boy.
When you have a moment, you brought up some stuff in chat tonight that was concerning. The mutually assured destruction setup isn't a sign of trust, and I'm pretty certain that you wouldn't bring that up if you weren't dealing with active triggers. The thing that I want to make clear is that it's bad for everyone in addition to not being real trust. Should you ever act on releasing information, you immediately put a target on Poppy's back for Kiwi Farms to go after her, and they will also likely go after Sage, and maybe you too. It will be like Keffels 2.0. People really do get stuck in their heads and project and make dumb decisions. Doesn't matter how strong or smart we think we are. Everyone is susceptible to it at some point, so rein that in.
I would never do that to you or Poppy, ever, no matter what.
Yeah, so rein that voice in. You're not in danger.
It's not a voice that's currently active. It was more of an uneasy trauma joke than anything. God help anyone who steps foot into that unhinged therapist's office. Jesus Christ, yeah. Poppy makes literally everything about herself, and we're supposed to believe that she's not a narcissist. The assumption that I need to have it explained to me that mutually assured destruction isn't a sign of trust is bizarre, especially framed as a setup as though it's premeditated. I've already been being seen as a threat, being warned of the consequences of releasing information. Well, what I'm doing now technically is my version of mutually assured destruction. It's not what Zena is implying here. or said explicitly to others later, as shared with me by a concerned friend.
Also, I didn't even include Milena having this whole conversation on voice with a bunch of people how mutually assured destruction is how she does trust.
Yeah, this is Zena being very, very dishonest here in her framing.
It was really bizarre. She was trying to say that she keeps enough secrets and information with people that if either of them do anything, there's mutually assured destruction. This was right after the incident when PMDD started.
Mutually assured destruction isn't how I do trust. It's a last resort when I feel outgunned. Zena had no idea what I was trying to say. Never mind the gall of projecting something this insane onto me and then sharing it with former friends as fact. Nuts, dude. Nuts. Yeah, and then there's this where she says her to rein in that in. This is barely ironic to keep in mind as things escalate. Maybe take some of your own advice, Zena. Like, rein that shit in. Also, rein that shit in is an interesting choice. This is the beginning of them no longer seeing me as a friend and continuing to focus on keeping me on the defensive. This is supplemental, but for the sake of full context, this is referring to another situation that popped up in VC. Milena says, it's not a voice that's currently active. It was more of an uneasy trauma joke than anything. On a separate note, just to be clear, when I was asking about the editor discussion, it wasn't to try to help in any way that could involve a bias. It was wondering if there were two separate problems that could potentially be two separate conversations, and if one could be easier to arrange sooner because it involved less people and therefore would get editing moving faster. Nope, you'll see more of the fish, Nick. Don't worry about it. It wasn't to propose anything that would be more favorable to one party or another. It was asking if a suggestion that could potentially get things moving faster would be feasible in this situation, so you could at least get the video out sooner and then resolve this bigger questions and conversation later. Strictly project management kind of stuff, not conflict resolution, and it was going to be a question/suggestion, not me arguing for anything. You made it clear before that you don't think I have proper context or perspective on the situation to contribute in that way, so I'm not going to. I got the message. I'm not trying to start or continue a conflict. I just want you to know that I wasn't doing what you were concerned I was doing. I didn't get to clarify in the moment. Then Zena replies,
Mimi, Poppy and I are old hats at this stuff, and we have a lot of training between the two of us. If I'm looking for input, I'll let you know. I did not think you were continuing the conflict. Poppy and I already worked through all the various possibilities for how to handle the situation, and we have our own priorities and goals. The other day and today, you had no idea what stage of things you were coming into and didn't know what our goals and priorities were. You were doing the thing that I didn't want to deal with. Poppy and I work through stuff extremely quickly, and I don't have the time to sort out more input. You're not a content creator, and you're not on the mod team. We just lost an entire day due to migraines, and Poppy is wrecked from having to deal with blank. We need time to just be regular-ass people. I don't want you handling server and channel things. I want you to be a partner to Poppy who can support her emotionally and be a friend to me. In addition, fighting is clearly hard on you. Poppy and I have agreements in place for how we handle mental illness and fighting. We're okay with the mess. We've spent years working with each other on our respective triggers. The thing is that a new relationship is prime time for all of those triggers from the past toxic people to come to the surface. I'm not tossing you into our dynamo. They brought up the headache of getting videos out while this conflict was happening. Zena sharply cut me off and shut me down without letting me explain. Poppy was dealing with some severe family issues that day, which is why I'd been sending messages of support in between and avoiding talking about this. I only engaged here as a response to Zena's weird accusation. Also, fun to be managed via fighting is clearly hard on you. Yeah, that's a dig. That's such a passive-aggressive dig from Zena. Zena will go on to accuse me of trying to manage their PMDD for them, but somehow feels entitled to infantilize me and decide what's best for my mental health throughout this conflict. Day 4, Spiral. Yeah, PR for 20, the reason why it's fish is because I was talking the other day about how they look kind of like anglerfish. And it's funny because like male anglerfish latch onto the female anglerfish and kind of like become absorbed by them. That's how they reproduce. Okay, day 4, Spiral. This is where things took a turn. Oh yeah, it gets worse. I felt nervous engaging on their Discord server, worried that I would say something wrong without realizing it, and further upsetting Zena. The escalation of their accusations only made this worse. My personal life was suffering.
Poppy wants to resolve things, but you can see that Zena is already leaning away and has all kinds of bad faith assumptions about me. Yeah. Note how I'm keeping a hard focus on having this conversation over VC. Something that Poppy acknowledges is super fair. Zena disagrees. Okay, here it is. One thing I want to speak to about this process is that I think it's important to recognize that often I have to come up with a consistent voice for her. Oh god, I need to come up with a consistent voice for Poppy, because I can't seem to figure it out. Do Shrek? I can't do Shrek. Maybe I can use one of my voice mod things. I don't know what a Michigan accent is. Okay, that's okay. I'll figure it out. Right. So, here it is. I think one thing I want to speak about this process is that, like, I think it's important to recognize that often we come to the group with complaints and bitches. We're still in the working through process, and often we're not actually in the action process. Regularly, Zena and I complain or bitch and be fairly harsh in order to work out some of our frustrations, and then usually come at the thing much more level-headed. Let me know when you have time to discuss this over VC. I hate doing things like this over text. Too much room to misinterpret. Tone. Then, oh fuck. Poppy says, that's super fair. We can talk about it over VC at some point. I don't know my order of operations is today. If I need to talk to anybody, I'm going to be starting with blank because I need to get videos going again. I agree. Just please know that I miss us. I really, really miss us. And I'm including Zizi in that us. Things have felt so strained and I just want to clear the air. Then Zena says,
I have no idea where you're at though. If you're sensitive to tone, there's no way that I want to be in VC for this. It's way too easy for people to project onto me.
Tone is clearer over VC. I just can't have you getting super aggressive with me over disagreements. It's the aggression.
That's what I mean. You still frame it as me as the aggressor.
Oh my god, Zena's really twisting this in her head. What an insane person. Sorry, in their head. Zena's really twisting it in their head. What an insane person. I think the thing is being missed between the two of you is that because of Zizi doesn't always know when they are being loud or aggressive because their emotions come on like a freight train. I think they're also taking it as though there's some intentionality on their part to be such when there isn't. That's why the making of a boundary is hard, because if Zena can't control the action, there's always a possibility that they will always, like, break the boundary. So the question becomes, how do we adjust to the conversation so that you feel safe, Milena, but Zena isn't held to a standard they can't meet?
I need to be clear that you also hit my safety triggers repeatedly in that conversation. You had a part in that escalation just as much as myself and Poppy did.
Zena also hated Spawn using tone indicators. I think Zena dislikes anything that could possibly call her out. I think Zena relies on tone being ambiguous so she can twist things in her own way. I gotta stop doing this. Zena relies on things that can be misinterpreted so they can misinterpret things as they see fit. So they can use it to manipulate other people. Okay, sorry, got a notification on Discord. I think Zena only cares about other people's emotions when it benefits them. Yeah. I don't know. I think Zena really does rely on things being ambiguous in tone so they can manipulate other people and claim that they're the victim. Milena says, we can work on that, but not having voice calls at all is not the path to figuring that out.
If your framing is that I'm the aggressor, I can't fix that. It puts me in the position of acting as therapist.
Puts who?
One sec. Edit done.
I disagree with that assessment.
I explained the other night how PMDD works.
If we're going to discuss this, it should be over VC.
I don't want to be defending myself and playing therapist at the same time. If you want to work on this, then I need you to come in with the understanding that this situation was co-created by all of us. If what you want is to force a boundary and try to make me understand to stop the behavior, that simply is not how any of this works. It's the same thing as me telling you and Poppy to just not have BP.
To be frank, I've felt somewhat infantilized throughout this, as though I'm somehow wandering through my own triggers like a lost child and asking you two to handle it for me. When did I say I was blameless in the situation? My point is that the blame is not the issue. I'm focused on how to figure out how to navigate our way to the solution.
You asked me if you could leave voice calls. You always have that power and never need my okay to do so. Yet, I'm having to reassure you that it's okay to do so.
Okay, wow. I don't like the way how you frame things. like they should be obvious when it's clear that we have different emotional reactions to them and they deserve clarification. It's not weird to wonder if you'd take offense to me just dropping out of a call mid-conversation. It's the equivalent of hanging up on someone when the argument gets disagreeable. Some people would see that as an escalation. I know I have the power to leave. I wanted to understand how that would affect you, especially since we were talking about how I could handle these situations better. Then Poppy says, Can I like call a red light on this situation? Yes, please. We can talk about a time, either talk about it over text or VC, but if we do it over VC, there's going to need to be some boundaries because I'm most likely going to have to mediate. I wouldn't want to have it without all three of us. There's a lot to unpack here. So this is a whole, I have no idea where you're at though. The tone is clear over VC. You still frame me as... Zena's framing me as sensitive to tone. It's not sensitive to not want to be yelled at. I even specified that I can't deal with them getting super aggressive. They flip this need into an accusation against them. I appreciate Poppy's attempt to moderate, but then Zena bulldozes it with this odd reframing of the initial conflict. While I understood that I had triggered Zena, these repeated attempts to equalize blame, instead of working on understanding each other, only escalated things. It's almost like people are incapable of engaging in any sort of conversation where they don't have the advantage in the conversation. Yeah. If they will say shit like this over text, which is so easy to save or copy, imagine how depraved they are in voice chats privately. Yeah, I bet these are the types of people who use slurs. Honestly, I don't understand what this means. Here's the beginning of the accusation of forcing a boundary and trying to make them change the behavior. A lot like Poppy here, you can't question or take events. Those are triggers. You can't have boundaries again. Triggers, yeah. My boundary was not to be shouted at with zero breaks, bulldozing over any attempts to de-escalate. That's a fair boundary. It's not a hard one. And ironically, a lot of what they'll tell me after this is essentially to not have BPD. They feel entitled to their behavior because they have a disorder that impairs their self-regulation. And yet, they will demand that I self-regulate as though I don't even try. I do, a lot. Also, can I get a W for this bit? This was a W. I just have to say, Miss Milena, like, incredible at communicating. Incredible at laying things out and explaining things. Like, there's not a way for you to misinterpret this. Zena has to be crazy to misinterpret this. I say more here, but it's so odd that Zena continues to have these interpretations of situations that feel like they should be obvious, especially in the context of conflict resolution. Am I the one being unstable here? Toxic. Afterwards, I found out that a friend of mine, let's call him B, was canceling on me last minute. We hadn't seen each other in months and had planned this 3 weeks ahead of time, but they'd gotten too drunk the night before and were hungover. Felt high priority all around. This compounded with additional stressors in my personal life to make me feel trapped and alone and unimportant. I tried to self-regulate through it, but it just cascaded through the day. It was rough. I sent this to Poppy later that day. If you two have conflicting boundaries, that's kind of the point where you have to compromise, but people seem to have forgotten how to do that. Yeah. I really miss you. I know it's irrational, but I'm really scared that I'm never going to get to hold you. Like this is the beginning of the end. I'm sorry. I'm scared and there's no room for me to ask for what I need. I don't know what to do. I love you and I don't know how to talk to you or keep doing our fun things like ERP while this is going on. It clouds the lens. I can't focus. I feel so alone right now. Love, we are okay. We will get through this. Unfortunately, Milena mentions another partner and that's probably when Poppy turned on her now too. This is significant. I didn't know how to engage with her while this was happening. We had an erotic role play going on the side that was phenomenal. It was hit over 70K words. But I couldn't get into a sexy mindset with all this. I just have to reiterate erotic role play. This is some nerdy cringe, okay? But okay, moving on. Milena seems pretty good at actually using psychological tools to aid their interactions. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Poppy should not be in polyamorous relationships. She cannot handle it. But I couldn't get into a sexy mindset with all of this. I told her that. Remember this. So she did explain why I can't do ERP with you, right? Later, I was doing badly. I had a trip planned to visit my only other partner, Athena, who lives 2 states away. I would leave on Wednesday and didn't want this situation hanging over that trip. I hadn't expected it to take this long to talk. So I sent this and off we went. Tuesday night is the last night that I can easily have this conversation until next Wednesday. Is that doable for you guys? Yeah, let me see if that works for us, but why are you gone for a week? Visiting Athena, it's the first time I've seen them in over 2 months. Remind me who Athena is. I'm having a hard time remembering because it's late. That's a long-term partner, correct? Or at least the former one. Current partner. Lives in Washington. Weird ambiguity. Got it. I remember now. You have fun with that. God, I need to be able to indicate the tone here better. Got it. I remember now. You have fun with that. I'll see if I can find a time to negotiate to talk. I think there's more to talk about than just the stuff with you and Zena. Things have gotten weirdly tense between us, and I'm not entirely sure why, but it's got to the point where it's even affected the one way we actually share intimacy. AKA the ERP guys, okay? So to hear that you're going off to visit Athena when it feels like you've been alienating me, and I assume you feel similar about myself, it doesn't inspire confidence. I'm also probably not thinking straight, and I'm probably more upset than I need to be. So I'll probably just go to bed. Okay, so again, Milena says because of the tenseness, that's why she hasn't been able to engage in this ERP nerd that they do together, okay? God, dude. See, Poppy asks about it, and she intentionally makes Milena trigger her boundary star. True! True. Okay. It seems like the one part of this that is destructive is that everything is a combo, intimate, relationships / friendship / social group / work relationship, etc. It kind of makes sense that you would employ faux multiple personalities instead of just using code switching like we all do. Yeah. She wants to be in a poly relationship for her own benefit. She enjoys the idea of having multiple partners because it makes her feel wanted and desired. However, she does not want her partners to have relationships with people other than her. Typical. Sounds like a one-sided red pill relationship. That's what I was saying. I was saying that Poppy sounds so much like a red pillar to me. Like the justification of like, oh, I know Noe's not really asexual. She was totally attracted to me. Guys, trust me. She was totally attracted to me. And then the whole, like, by deception argument she makes is one that husbands can use on their wives that they married. Like, it's crazy. It is crazy. That's why I was calling Poppy Elliot Rogers 2.0. I can see the same exact argument, the same exact logic that Poppy used to call Noe Flake by deception being used from an husband on a wife who's experiencing marital. It's crazy to me. Okay, continuing the screenshot. We'll see what we can do, though this talk with you is on a list of at least 3 other meetings that we have to schedule. I wish you had given us more warning. Shrug. If it has to wait, then it has to wait. Just remember, this is very similar to how Zena dealt with Spawn. Spawn needed something. Zena was always like, you should have given us more time, you know? Milena responds, I don't know how to talk to you while this conflict is active. There's no way to get myself into the kind of mood that inspires ERP writing. It feels like there's no room for me and everything else always comes first. So I just accept that and I don't fight. I've been trying to get time to talk about this sooner. I could have talked today, but for some reason, this has to wait until after the 5-person blank meeting can be figured out. So okay, it is what it is. How do I ask for more when everything else is always going on? Would telling you about my trip have changed anything? Going to bed. Tomorrow is a work day. And Miss Milena says, and I didn't expect both of you to be up right now and it's late. I should have left this for tomorrow. That's my mistake. Sorry. I'm sorry, but if someone cares about you, they will make time for you. If a loved one can't even get on a phone call, that's ridiculous. I agree with that. Zena says tomorrow's a work day, like she works anywhere. Sorry, they. Zena says tomorrow is a work day, like they work anywhere. So, yeah. I'm terrible. I'm so terrible at this. Notice how I phrase this. I didn't say I can't have the conversation. I asked if this time frame was doable for them. Remember this. This is important. Is that doable for you guys? Visiting Athena. Note my speech patterns here. I can see how this could come across as short, but I'm genuinely having trouble keeping it together. I can barely form sentences. Poppy's whole approach here is off-putting. You have fun with that. Note the weirdly tense part. I told her why. That I was struggling. Somehow it didn't click for her. And she projects her own feelings about me alienating her onto me as well. Shrug. If it has to wait, then it has to wait. I say everything I need to in that second screenshot, but you've got to love the inclusion of the shrug action here from Zena. Championship empathy. Not to mention the I wish you'd given us more warning. Just, hey, here's where it all starts to melt down, guys. Day 5. Day 5, when it all starts to melt down. Unfortunately, Milena, you trigger her possessiveness and jealousy by mentioning a partner. Now you got a tag team against you rather than the shriveled male angler Zena. Yeah. You know what makes it hard for me is the type of name. I think maybe I should just refer to them as Z or ZZ or something, because the name I think just is what throws me off with the pronouns, you know? 1 second, chat. Let me rest my throat for a second. Are you guys liking the voices? Please tell me you are. Be honest if you're not, though. Need some more Ben Shapiro in the mix? Okay. Give me a second here, guys. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Okay. Loving everything except Poppy and Zena themselves. Appreciate the effort. Right, the content is appalling. Yeah, you're good with the voice work. Thank you. It's great. Thank you. Yeah, I can they them everyone pretty easily, but it's a lot easier for me to they them selectively if I actually read fully gender neutral vibes from individuals. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna call them Z going forward, okay? I think that'll help. Day 5, Meltdown. Poppy. So, after looking at all of this, I'm not really sure what to do. A couple of things stand out to me. We previously had a conversation about being transparent about plans. I didn't even know you were going to see Athena on Saturday, if that was the same person, until we talked that day and I saw it on Twitter. If the plans held the same, you would have been gone for a week, unless I'm forgetting a previous conversation, but I don't think that I am. I'm sorry, are you guys in a polycule, or are you in an exclusive relationship? Why does this person need to tell you what they're doing in their personal life? Oh, it gets rich, guys. Surprise, surprise. Poppy doesn't like one of her partner's partners. Gets rich, gets good. Okay? I have now been informed you are leaving tomorrow and going to be gone for a week, and apparently will be so busy that you can't talk, despite the fact that you previously said that Athena was cool with you interacting with partners before. The same person, mind you, who got so drunk that they had to cancel, if indeed that is the same person. So yeah, this all feels really crappy. It's hard not to be upset at you and judgmental towards your partner. I still find that relationship disquieting, but I could have dealt with a week away if I had proper notice, like we previously discussed. If I have the data points wrong, feel free to point them out. And to answer your question, that by the way feels toxic as hell, yes. Telling me about your trip would have changed 2 important details. You would have been honest / in integrity with our previous discussions, and there wouldn't be necessarily be a ticking clock trope around your conversation with ZZ. That feels manipulative. This bitch really gonna talk about what's manipulative? Really? Thank you for the memberships, Frochinima and Beckett. Very much appreciated. Okay. See, Poppy now sees her partner as an enemy, no more neutrally standing. Yeah. And I'm betting that Zena had a part in this. So the way that I see it is that our relationship has been strained due to your conflict with ZZ. That feels really off. Phone calls before that felt strained too, and I am not sure why. It is not that everything comes before you. It is that your reaction has been uncomfortable and unilateral. Everything from our interaction, not just the ERP, has dropped out. It feels like I am being punished for that conflict, which really sucks. Well, yeah, if you and your partner are attached at the hip like that, yeah, like what? I wish people knew how she was about polyamory before getting involved with her, because Jesus Christ, man, they deserve a chance to be spared the feelings of someone who would rather be a polygamist. Yeah. I will try to prioritize this conversation, but the time limit doesn't help. And I don't like my need to have our channel functional with my need to resolve this conflict pitted against one another. I love you, Milena. I'm not sure what to do. We'd had a prior agreement that I was in violation of. With Zena's help, this would break us. My relationship with Athena had previously made Poppy insecure and jealous, so we'd established an agreement to share upcoming plans to see each other. This is normal in polyamory, but the reason I hadn't done so already is that this came up 2 weeks before we were official. I agreed to this because sometimes, even if a desire is unfair or strange, it's not that hard to do the thing that makes someone you care about more comfortable. This was part of the reason I asked her out soon afterwards. If she felt that strongly, why not make it official? This time, I'd set up the plans while everything was with Sage's attempt was going on. It didn't feel appropriate to bring up at that time. In the stress of the following couple of weeks, I'd flat out forgotten to tell them. I f***ed up. But it was a mistake. They didn't care. The inaccuracies here are head spinning. I don't know how Poppy conflated my friend flaking on our weekend plans with my trip to see my partner 2 states away, but that's what she ran with. Ooh, that's true. I do correct the data points afterwards. She never acknowledges her mistake. It feels toxic as hell. You would have been honest / in integrity. Ticking clock. Manipulative. Notice the numerous pieces of escalating language here. Not just toxic, but toxic as hell. I didn't make a mistake. I was being dishonest. My request to have the discussion by Tuesday was seen as a ticking clock and manipulative. Damn, Milena really knows how to do this. Milena really knows how to do this. I told them this was affecting me. My discomfort framed as unilateral and punishment. The tension between us being stretched further back, ignoring the severe stress I'd been under at work, ignoring the personal feelings I had around the Sage situation and my own ideation, things we said we'd discuss later. Yeah, these are not partners. These are people who want to use you for sex. Doesn't matter how I responded with explanations of my own difficulties and needs. It was like they forgot them the next day, if they ever heard them at all. Nothing going on with me seemed to register. Only how my actions were reframed into a vacuum centered around them. Miss Milena, oh boy, I'm gonna read this whole thing. Okay, sorry, I'm just prepping myself. Okay, Milena, I have responses to all of this, but I don't want to send them over text. I feel like this whole thing has just been exacerbated by it being over text. There's several data points in here that are wrong and in bad faith. I don't think either of you understand the level of triggers that were hit for me here. I'm not trying to vilify either of you or anything with that. I'm trying to express that this tapped into the kind of that made me not talk to my cousin, one of my most trusted and close people, for 3 years, and how my family just kept brushing me off about it. And so I just wasn't included in gatherings for that whole time. It's not the only time something like that has happened either. It might be worth going to the bottom corner with the cam if you're primarily reading from the top screen, Stardust. Maybe, but then if I do the chat highlights, it covers my face, you know? I'm just trying to say that this is hard for me in a way that you don't realize, and I don't know how to express, and I need to talk about it. The friend I was going to see this weekend wasn't Athena. Athena lives 2 states away. I thought I brought up this visit before, but now I feel crazy, so I guess not. There's so much going on, and I forgot, I guess. I thought I mentioned it, maybe not so recently because of everything happening, but I thought I did. I'm not hiding anything. I just don't want this me up during that trip because it's the only time I get in person with someone who feels like a safe space. It's not fair for me to not have that safe space because it took over a week to have a call about this. I know that there's been stuff going on, but there's been stuff going on constantly for weeks. If there's no room for me, then there's no room for me. And maybe I'm forgetting something, but then I just need to talk about it to be reminded. Friends and even my dad have been flaking on me, and it's just been making me feel worse. It all compounds. I am freaking out to the point of sometimes feeling nauseous, like right now. And it feels like it doesn't matter to you. Or at least that it's not something to be taken seriously. And I keep trying to express that. And I don't feel comfortable enough to interact until this is resolved and it's being treated like manipulation and toxicity. You're calling it punishment when I've been hurting this whole time and wanting so badly to be able to just talk normally. I'm not trying to attack. I am begging for help. Maybe I could have handled this better, but it's really unfair that my missteps because of my PTSD and mental illness are seen as these manipulative and toxic things, and everyone else's are understandable and are accepted and treated with patience and good faith. What did I do? My response to this situation was to try to understand more and figure out a way to do better in the future, and now I'm just getting worse every day, and I'm getting desperate. Please. Please, I just want to talk about this. This is why I hate doing these things over text. This is why I wanted to call. We just need to talk with voices and everything to get the full tone and cadence. So our minds stop filling in the blanks with our own insecurities and traumas and fears. Please, I'm not trying to manipulate or hide. I just need to feel like this matters. I don't see why it's being framed as a choice between the channel and me. We could have talked in any of this time where the editor conversation hasn't happened. I don't understand why it has to happen after that. I just don't understand, and I'm asking for help. I just need help, please. I know this is just my brain being, and I'm sorry that this is the first relationship that I'm having since my super ones. I tried to warn you. I'm sorry that this is high maintenance right now. If it's too much, I get it. This is kind of a perfect storm of triggers for me right now. I'm sorry. I know I'm a lot, and you have a lot going on. I just need to talk. A week is too long for me to sit with this. I'm hurting really badly, and apparently, I don't know how to ask for help in a way that isn't taken as me being. I'm sorry. I just want to fix this. Okay. And then Zena enters. You're not the only one with triggers. Frankly, your triggers are your responsibility. That's just the way of it. Telling me to change my behavior, especially one that is a biological function, isn't going to change that you have those triggers. Wow. Way to tell us that you did not read Zena. Milena says, it's really frustrating that that's the part you focused on. That's not what I was saying, and I'm not trying to have that conversation here because it's likely to get difficult over text. Yeah, very self-aware. Very self-aware. Hot meat kettle, bitch. Yeah. Then, what conversation are you even trying to have? This was still typing before you posted. Nothing dangerous happened to you. You are not in any situation that you can't just leave from. Nothing around PMDD is happening to you either. Use your tools. It's not the mental illness or PTSD that is the issue. It's how you choose to act and communicate. There have been direct conversations with you about needs that Poppy has in the relationship, and you didn't act in accordance with any of those agreements. Whether you intended it or not telling us with more warning did create a situation where Poppy and I are having to choose between multiple things. The channel is a job for us. Poppy and I have both had other things going on and have each had entire migraine days this weekend. Oh, here's the migraine excuse again. One of the days we were also dealing with blank. We didn't even manage to get grocery shopping done. I wasn't able to do any training with the mod team this week either. We're still trying to stream today or tomorrow. When you suddenly tell us that there's a deadline, you're putting your needs at odds with ours. Doesn't matter whether it was intended. That was the effect. If our schedules can't work, then people will simply need to deal with their mental illness over on their own. It's not fun, but it happens sometimes. This is not the end of the world. The way you're talking now still tells me that I'm going to be having to argue with you to prove that PMDD is even real and that I don't have the energy for that right now. I'm also balancing my own set of triggers. Right now, you're saying that you want the full tone and cadence, but you made it clear that I can't talk to you that way. You trying to troubleshoot what to do with a disorder that you don't understand isn't going to work. I don't even know how much about this disorder that you even read from the other day. PMDD isn't a disorder that you can negotiate away. I don't get a choice with how much anger creeps in. I don't get a choice in what emotions to feel, how long, or how intense to feel them. If your triggers are that big of a deal, then why push for this talk right now anyways? This is how I know that you have no understanding of PMD. Even if we did talk, it is ultimately up to you to pull yourself out of the trigger. What if... Damn, if you ever find yourself in a position where you're begging to just have a conversation with your SO, just leave. They don't give a fuck about you and you deserve better. Zena assigned you reading. Did you even read what Zena assigned? Yeah. Oh, Zena can assign people homework. I told them on the first night that the anxiety was making me nauseous and they just kept giving me more reasons to be worried. This was me at my most vulnerable, literally begging for compassion after 4 days of enduring bad faith and projection from them, particularly Zena. You're not the only one with triggers. You're important to both of us. You really do make our lives better. Zena is the quiet one on camera, but behind the scenes, this is who they are in conflict. Volatile, quick to anger, cold, and relentless once they feel justified in their cruelty. There's a lot to unpack even just here. Compare that to this message from just a few days before. Nothing dangerous happened to you. Okay, yeah. The change from a safe person to one so cold is one that I have a lot of traumatic associations with, familial and otherwise. Note the invalidation here, the condescending use your tools as though I hadn't been using them for days to be as little of a bother as possible. If your triggers are that big of a deal, right after saying she has no control at all over when/how she gets mad or upset. Yeah. Zena uses their PMDD as an excuse for their cruelty, but then refuses to accept how they're affecting me. Not only do they invalidate my circumstances here, but they reverse the situation into something where I'm the problem. Days of this, but my suffering is my fault. I think I would say here, Zena uses their PMDD as an excuse for their cruelty, while also saying that they aren't being cruel. I would love to talk to Patchwork if they're available, but I don't think they'll talk to me. She's referring to a single agreement that I tell Poppy when I plan to see my other partner ahead of time. A lot of extremely stressful stuff was going on for both of us, and I forgot. Again, I should mention that I agreed to this weeks before we were officially dating. I addressed why I asked for this in my message above, but I should also mention that I didn't demand a deadline. I'm including the message that set this off, me stating my situation, asking if they can accommodate. Gotta go, but man, this is too juicy. Well, check the VOD later, Toas. Thank you for being here. He came on Beckett's stream if you want to take a small break to watch it. I'll think about it. It was a boundary stating a need and my response. If our schedules can't work, okay, well, whatever. Do I even need to say anything about how dismissive and condescending this is? One of Zena's main accusations against me is that I didn't believe them about their PMDD. This is a source of that accusation. It is 100% projection, and they've been telling everyone that I invalidated their experiences. I never did any such thing. But how did they treat mine? Yeah, it's true. Zena is incredibly terrible. Stars, did you say that you were going to be on call with P/C? No, I made little VTubers because we'd been making jokes for days that they looked like fish. So I was using these while I was reading their parts. That's what I meant. It's obviously a joke, but I did say like, oh, the couple themselves will be joining me. But I meant that in a jokey way. Now, all good, Firechild. Here, Zena's referring to the fact that I said that their yelling triggers me. They're saying that if we have a call, they're going to yell at me that way. They frame me as not knowing what I'm talking about or asking for because wanting the clarity of a voice call means asking to be treated in the way that I have a boundary against. Again, note that they are already assuming that it's going to result in them going off on me. I'm not a professional, and I will say that my DBT specialized therapist and my friend who's been diagnosed with PMDD both reacted to this whole situation with a confused, that's not how that works. I empathize, but your diagnosis is not a blank check to harm others, Zena. Agreed. Do I even need to say anything about this if your triggers are that big of a deal? Yeah. Terrible. Here's one thing about therapy speak. This sentiment is technically valid. Our triggers are our own responsibilities. That's in regards to how we can't control the world, though. Here, Zena is directly using it to deny their responsibility and harming me. Yeah, it's true. Thank you for sticking with me this far. I've been silenced and shut out and ignored for nearly 2 months now. Finally being seen and heard helps. Makes me feel less crazy. If you're willing to stick with me a little longer, I'd like to include the next few messages here. Note that I'm trying to get them to see that I'm trying to play by their rules, trying to understand how to work within their parameters, to try to figure out how to resolve this and understand how to navigate any future incidents. Their approach shows no such intent, no such empathy, but mainly, I want to point to this as reinforcement of what I pointed out above. Zena takes absolutely no responsibility for how they've directly triggered my PTSD. From the language used to the tone to the dismissal, this is, in a word, vile. Agreed. None of this was ever condemned by Poppy, our mutual partner. She never acknowledged it. Not my feelings or how bad the way that Zena was treating me was terrible or even unfair or bad. In polyamory, this is referred to as a hinge. She did, however, tweet about it a little later, but we'll get to that. Milena says, I don't want to talk about this over text. Then why send 3 or 4 paragraphs? And Poppy is working still. You know that. I don't think you want to hear what I have to say on this either. To address what I could about the paragraphs that were sent to me without digging in too deep. To address the urgent items about me potentially hiding things and lying and being toxic and manipulative. They were digging in though. And I'm still working. I'm writing this between meetings. All I'm asking for is time to talk, not over text. Please. There's no begging that doesn't change that we're still busy. We said
we would see what we can do, but I can't promise anything, nor do I want to be on voice with you while PMDD is still going. Specifically meaning to hash this out. I mean what I say about the flashbacks. That is your brain doing things. It sucks, but you have control here. And there are lots of tools that help with this stuff. This is why we have the container meditation on this channel. Please stop. Stop what? This. If you can't talk, then you can't talk. I told you that doing this over text just makes things worse. Already gotten so much worse because of this kind of approach. What got worse? I mean, what I would say the same stuff in person. Yeah, but over text, the blanks get filled in with insecurities and fears. Over voice, we can at least hear that we care about each other. Then actually use tools, container meditation, square breathing, etc. 5 senses, use them. That is how you actually get yourself out of this. You have to take control of you. In fairness, Zena is busy. In fact, this text conversation is cutting into their alone time. So true, Eric. So true. She could have been using the bathroom or been in the kitchen during this. No wonder she's pissed. It's pretty frustrating to hear you say this after everything you've said about being unable to self-regulate. Like, it's so easy to just do the thing. I'm aware of the tools. It's difficult for me. Some of them flat out don't work. I do care. I also care about me. I'm not signing up to calm your past relationship fears that have nothing to do with the actual conflict that happened. I still have to use the tools and at least try. I had to develop other tools and accommodations for PMDD, but I'm handling my... Clearly not, bitch. Yours, you keep bringing to us. I'm stepping away from this. I have other stuff I need to get done today. I've already repeated myself several times. I'm not stopping you, and I have plenty of my own. Note for later, we need to have some clarification around me being told it's okay to ask for what I need because I don't even know what that looks like at this point. And then she sends flights. It would be really helpful to me if you could do Tuesday, but if you can't, then just let me know when. If we need to wait until PMDD is done, let me know. I'll make time even if I'm up in Washington. She should have said I only care about me instead of I also care about me. It would have been more truthful. It would have been. I feel so bad for this Milena person because she entered this relationship, and relationships are supposed to be full of care. And this person doesn't care about them. Neither of them care about them. Okay, and the first one, notice how I'm stating needs and Zena does nothing but question and invalidate and reverse and even threaten. I don't think you want to hear what I have to say on this either. Oh, that's a threat, yeah. The opener is kind of unsettling, but it's interesting how blatantly they're already copping out of the conversation, saying they can't promise anything, then immediately saying they don't actually want to do the call yet. Again, no empathy for how they affect me. There's no begging. We said we would see what we can do, but I can't promise anything, nor do I want to be on voice with you while PMDD is still going. That's your brain doing things. It sucks, but you have control here. This condescension and rejection continues, including this bizarre continued denial of how effective voice communication is versus text. This is common knowledge, but they would keep talking to me like I'm being ridiculous for implying that voice chat would be more effective. I'm just gonna drop this here. For someone who's insisting that everyone should just put up with their just because they have a condition they can't self-regulate, it's pretty rich for them to berate me about using tools like this. The tools got me this far before breaking. The reason I've been able to last this long without constantly freaking out at them was because I use them. The assumption that I'm just some dimwit who hasn't done any self-work is wildly revealing. Like there isn't a limit. This is flat out invalidation of trauma. Remember, Zena was a counselor. What the? Oh wait, Zena was a counselor too? Zena was a counselor too? I also care about me. I'm not signing up to calm your past relationship fears that have nothing to do with the actual conflict that happened. That is sometimes what partners have to do. Also, I didn't keep bringing my to them. My requests were reasonable. Any needs stated turned against me. But Zena's the one who's handling their properly in this. Clearly not. It's between these messages that I checked Poppy's Twitter. Oh boy. Oh boy. I can't wait to see this part. Oh my god. Chat, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be juicy, all right? Sub if you feel like it. So true. Guys, if you like the content so far, if you like the effort that I put into making PNG tubers just for this very stream and doing voices and reading this entire thing, consider subscribing, super chatting, becoming a member. I greatly appreciate it. I would love you. I would love you to the moon and back if you did it for me, okay?
YouTube super chats and memberships are preferred because they give me a better cut, but I will take anything. I will take anything. I love you all. Thank you. Okay, so Poppy tweets this out. Do you know what helps a tense situation between metamors? A ticking clock trope, ignoring a previous boundary about discussing plans, and then threat of disappearing for a week. And of course, she posts this meme with it. You know, it's funny when you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. Okay, damn, what a bitch. Okay, so she just vague posts on her Twitter after this, while somebody's literally mentally tortured over this, and then claims that they're threatening them. I sent it back to her, telling her that it hurt my feelings. She didn't even acknowledge it. I don't mean to make you feel like things are tense. I'm sorry. I just need this figured out before I can feel comfortable again. This has been affecting me more than I think you two realize, and ZZ's responses make me feel like it doesn't matter how much it affects me, that there's just a blanket dismissal of it as my responsibility. She never responded to what I said here, or the fact that she'd made this tweet. Expressing the urgency of my needs was a trope. My mistake, ignoring a boundary, and my boundary, a threat. She'd urged me to not be afraid to express my needs for months, and we were here. Never mind how particular that Bojack meme implied that she was reevaluating our relationship and finding more red flags. Back to the main conversation. Notice that I gave in to their demands in the end, but do you see what happened? Look at the original message. Tuesday night is the last night that I can easily have this conversation until next Wednesday. Is that doable for you guys? They'd convinced me that I demanded no contact for the week. I hadn't. Later, I had this DM exchange with Poppy. I really, really hope this is still true. Then the emoji. Love, it is still true. I am getting on a call with blank. Okay, good luck. We may stream tonight because Courtney is available. I love you. I love you. I really love you. I love you so much that I had no idea how much this past few days would hurt, and I'm sorry for where that took me last night. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good meeting and stream. Decided not to stream. Too tired, and talk with blank went well, but took a long time. I'm glad it went well. How are you feeling? Boop. Emoji. Better. Tired. She didn't acknowledge my concerns, but she was still warm to me. It gave me hope. The boop was your turn for our ERP. I've been able to get to a point where I was feeling well enough to try to reconnect. The difference between Poppy's approach and Zena's finally made it clear that they weren't acting as a unit, and I missed her so much. It was nice, briefly. Apparently, Deep Sea Monster, which we are going to review the Courtney Orchard interview. We will be doing that. Day 6. Tuesday, my hopeful deadline for our conversation. They hadn't communicated to me what the plan was. Just letting the clock run out. Poppy and I were okay over DMs, a relatively normal return to sweetness. It was short-lived. The rest of this part is just me and Poppy. Okay, Poppy says, so the following are my off-the-cuff feelings about things coming up. Please read it when you are in a good headspace. So, I am at a bit of a loss as to what to do with the following week. My intuition is to disconnect completely for the week, as I feel uncomfortable and disquieted with reaching out. And I legitimately have concerns about not knowing where the lines are insofar as reaching out too much. I know your relationship with Athena is incredibly important to you, and I do not want to interfere, interrupt, or interact with that. I mention interacting because I struggle to understand that relationship. It doesn't make sense to me. My every intuition is telling me that your description feels off to me. I recognize a lot of that is BPD, but I am not sure how much exactly. Thus, I do not feel comfortable interacting with the situation because I do not know where my pathology and the relationship's pathology begin and end. It's a Canada Dry Zero Zine 4. Yeah, I'm not drinking a Coke. A ginger ale, zero sugar, okay? Anyways, back to this. I am still upset that I wasn't told, and this is another factor in an interaction because any chance of me having a positive opinion of your relationship with Athena has been marred by poor communication, wishful time management, and this time, just plain intentional or unintentional obfuscation. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, we will be okay, but I don't know how available I can be this coming week. Dude, she's giving them so many chances to talk to her, and they are not talking to her, and one of them tweeted about her. Then Milena says, oh, love, TLDR is you can reach out as much as you want. I'll let you know if I'm busy. Athena and I don't spend every day or night together. They work on weekends too. You can feel free reaching out as much as you want, and if I'm busy at the time, I'll let you know. If you have further questions about the relationship, please let me know what they are and I'll answer them. The whole not wanting to talk during the week was because the situation with ZZ was hanging over my head. I realized that I was still approaching the two of you as a unit and me being in conflict with both of you about the situation. I figured that out now and really want to hear more from you. I've missed you a lot. It's up to you and your comfort levels, but I do ask that if you have questions, please bring them up. Whether or not those answers satisfy your BPD is another matter, and I know how that goes, so I'm not expecting them to fully resolve the issues. But let's try. I know you're busy, but I just wanted to remind you real quick. Okay, you can go back to work now. Oh, Poppy is responding not nicely. Damn, Anonymous, thank you for the tip, the $25 tip. Thank you, very kind of you. I don't think my questions would be productive. I miss you too. If I had known this was coming, I would have organized things differently. But between Sage being out here, that whole situation, and Gila, I haven't connected with you. I was hopeful that it would resolve itself. But yeah, I am not sure what I would ask that would be helpful. I have issues with the situation and your behavior around this person confuses me. Just a second. Where was I? But yeah, I am not sure what I would ask that would be helpful. I have issues with the situation and your behavior around this person confuses me. You become erratic, in my opinion. In a way, I do not experience you when Athena isn't involved. Telling me to reach out as much as I want is frustrating because it feels like it ignores what I wrote. I don't know where those lines are, and when a person isn't available and I want them to be with me, it also makes things difficult because if I want to connect with you and you are busy with her, I am either interrupted or ignored. I think our BPD is very different in that regard. I know you are trying to be caring. I appreciate it. But you still didn't communicate with me about plans like we had discussed and haven't apologized. You broke your word from our previous conversation and it feels like you are blowing that. And by extension, via your response, me off. So yeah, I don't know what to do. I wish you well on your trip. Please enjoy your time with your partner and be safe. How about I get a more detailed plan for the week so you can know when I'll be free? In a movie, I'll respond to the rest when I get out. Gaslighting. Yeah, Milena is being sweet and Poppy is being a bitch as always. True. I started writing my response and it ended up being pretty extensive. It covers a lot, but since we haven't gotten time to talk yet and you don't feel okay with reaching out during my trip, I just ended up saying a lot of things I wanted to say. From this situation to things I would have shared in one-on-one time that we haven't had the chance for yet. I know you said you don't mind walls of text, but it's the kind of thing that I think it would be kind of weird to wake up to. So please let me know when you're ready and I'll send it. I'll spoiler it so you can properly start at the top. I put a lot of time and effort into writing it. I hope you read it. It's important for me that you do. You're very important to me, Poppy. I don't know if it even feels that way for you anymore, but I hope that once you read what I've written, questions will be answered and I'll feel that way again. I love you. I feel like this is relatively self-explanatory, but I do want to point out this unsettling moment. I feel like they use so many you statements, which seems weird for a therapist to do. Isn't Therapy 101 learning about I feel statements instead of you did statements? I don't know. Hi, Noah Brown. How's it going? So she circles this any chance of me having a positive opinion, blah, blah, blah. Just plain intentional or unintentional obfuscation. The finality of the positive opinion is disturbing for polyamory, as though she's not interested in fixing that rift in my perspective. 2. What would I gain from hiding my trip? Seriously, what possible logic does that follow outside of BPD paranoia? Saying this as someone who experiences plenty of it. You've seen me express it and try to regulate it throughout these messages. It was a mistake, but it's still seen as a possibility that I was lying. Why? Also, I still don't know what specific behavior Poppy is referring to when she says I act erratic about Athena. It's just some vague criticism that left me questioning myself. This is bad polyamory. Full stop. I understand that it's rooted in trauma and BPD, but this is just not healthy. Just because you have a reason for it doesn't mean it's okay to bring into relationships you aren't ready for. And I was going to apologize, but I wanted to do it over VC. Never mind how she gets to flirt with everyone under the sun because she's hypersexual, but her own jealousy is rampant. She actively shuts down even casual attempts to hit on her own partners. They get isolated and neglected while she spreads herself thin. Me when I see my partners flirt with someone else when I am in the room. And then there's wonderful, this one. I don't want to sleep. I want someone to ravage me. Oh, buying tickets now. Then Poppy says, knock it off. Damn. Crazy. Crazy. For real, Milena is having to play detective to get the I feel statements out of a barrage of I need, you did statements. Yeah. Sorry, give me a second, guys. All right. Poppy is willing to finger bang someone at a Renaissance fair dance floor, but someone casually flirting with one of her partners on Twitter? Unacceptable. True. True. Okay. Furries, man. Yeah. Okay. Resuming. Y'all are just... Okay. Then there's this emoji that's a hugging bear. Then Milena says, Poppy, did you see this? I'll be free during the weekend during the day, Saturday until 11:30 and Sunday until 8:30 your time. Then Poppy? Realizing my trip was coming up and how increasingly unlikely it would be that Poppy and I would get time to talk before I left, I spent over 3 hours writing out my thoughts on my phone. I still have it saved. It explains where my head's been, my relationship with Athena, and takes a stand on wanting to meet halfway. I will accept what they tell me about how I've made them feel, but I need the same in return. I will apologize, but I also need apologies for what's been said to me. This next screenshot is purely supplemental since I never ended up sending it, but the ending is a taste of where I was at the time. She never saw this, likely never will, but this is where my head is at. Hi, Truly and TC. I trust you, and I work to take your actions in good faith, even against the nagging feelings and voices in my head. You've done more than a couple of things that set off alarm bells in my head, but I recognize them for what they are, and I don't let them cloud my judgment of you or express them to you directly as potentially being just as real as what I actually perceive you as. I can only do so much to assuage your concerns, but I will make a damned proper effort. I've spent almost 3 hours writing this because it matters that you get the information that you're looking for. Where do you start managing your negative assumptions and the assertions that they lead to? Can I expect an apology at some point for this subtweet accusing me of threatening you, for calling me manipulative and toxic, for any of the awful things that Zena has said? I've looked at what happened so I can understand the causes, come up with a plan to do better, and acknowledge my mistake. Can I expect the same when my offense was forgetting to communicate something and yours have been attacks on my character? Yeah. There's a point after a fight with Blank in 2020, we were both emotionally exhausted, but sitting there slumped over, I was still able to express something that's coming to mind now. All I want is for you to treat me more like I treat you. And I know for damn sure you don't want me to treat you more like you treat me. Again, that's not a threat. I'll leave before I let myself get to the point where I take that as an approach. And if somehow I ever reach it, I'll leave immediately. That's not who I want to be. And I won't stay in a situation that makes me feel like more like that person. But you need to understand that that just because I don't express it doesn't mean that your BPD is worse than mine. I told you before, I'm way better at this than you think I am. I'm very intentional with maintaining my attitude. My kindness isn't weakness. I may forget something here and there, or be uncertain on how to handle a situation, but I'm not going to attack your character like you've attacked mine. I'm not going to try to make you feel like lesser or like I don't care about your feelings. I may miss the mark on addressing them, or acknowledge that I can only do so much to help them before it's up to you, but I'll never tell you that they're just your problem to deal with. I won't intentionally ignore them. I'm sorry that the solution I proposed didn't address your feelings adequately. I misunderstood the solution to your discomfort. I really hope I'm not still misunderstanding. I've been typing all of this on my phone, and it's been so long. But I will still try to figure things out. And if that means a somewhat messy trial and error process that involves some discomfort and empathy and forgiveness along the way, I'm ready for it if you are. And if you still don't feel comfortable reaching out, well, I hope that the information you have now at least helps in some way. And I hope it matters that I tried. 2024, you did not miss the special guests. The special guests are the PNG tubers I pulled out, okay? This is all very sad. Yeah, I agree. I saw this tweet from her and responded with reassurance in case it was about the conflict with me. There are days I remember that I am a good person and I care about people in the world. I need to learn to not forget that. That was Poppy. I hope you don't think I think you're a bad person. I don't, not even a little bit. I think we're just both hurting and confused. That doesn't change anything. I think about how brave you are and how important the work you do is, both online and professionally. I still admire you so deeply, and I'm still really in love with you. This wouldn't be so difficult if we didn't love each other so much. I still see that. I still feel that. None of that has changed. She finally responded with this, and I finally responded in kind before leaving her alone. Keeps unfolding and doesn't stop. It's so horrific, yeah. Hey, here's what Poppy says. Milena, I need space. I feel like your posts aren't really addressing the core issues I am bringing up. And this is to say nothing about the issue with you and ZZ and the possibility of that affecting your ability to visit. I am angry and upset. I do not think you think I am a bad person. I don't know what you think, but I feel like I am being ignored and managed. Your responses make no sense, and I have nothing to do with what I am saying. This isn't an issue that needs reassurance and platitudes. It is one that required you to show up and own your behavior. I've pointed out a pattern that has happened twice now, and I feel that pattern has been ignored. Starting from now until you return next Wednesday, I am asking you to leave me be and enjoy your trip. I have already stated why. I do not think this is too much to ask. No, I will not be meeting with you this weekend. No, I will not respond to the story until you return. And no, I will not be reading an insanely long post I did not ask for, especially if it is in the vein of the last 48 hours. This needs to be de-escalated. The stress created by these situations has been doing me harm by preventing me from getting work done, taking care of my partner, and streaming. I love you too, but the behavior exhibited since last week makes me question whether or not we are a good fit. I need space and time to think. Please enjoy your trip. Talk to you next Wednesday. This is completely ridiculous and very. I'm unsure why anyone would want to be in a relationship when every interaction feels like an Italian courtroom drama. It's so true, Fairy Queen. She's just gaslighting. Poppy never expresses any compassion, yeah. And now she won't even read something. Poppy is awful, yeah. But we're supposed to read your schizo posting, Poppy. True. Poppy, I'm a caring person. Also Poppy. Off, I didn't ask. The words accountability and respect are not in their dictionaries. And it's funny because they want her to take accountability. Okay. Milena responds, I also wanted to de-escalate. I also wanted to talk so I could figure out where I was missing what was being said. I wanted to own my mistake and figure out how to better. The message wasn't going to be in the vein of the last 2 days. It was going to provide clarity in a way that I haven't been able to, because you get to send messages like this and I don't get to respond properly in kind. The stress you're talking about is the same that's been affecting me since last Wednesday. I've been practically unable to work or focus on anything properly. That's why I wanted to talk so badly, to clear all of this up. I'm not trying to ignore or manage you. I'm trying to get space to speak properly on this, not from a space of panic or fear. I've also been wondering about our compatibility, but this has all been escalated over text and we haven't had a chance to properly talk. Please don't make any big decisions from a place of emotional elevation. I'm worried that I'll reach out next Wednesday just to have you tell me you've already made up your mind without us being able to talk. If this is what you feel is best for us, then okay, I disagree. And I really think we should talk first. Or that you should at least hear what I have to say for myself now that I've calmed down. But I respect your choice. I'll talk to you in a week, love. And I hope that when you read the above, you hear it in the voice I intend. Gentle and somewhat sad, but accepting. I'm not trying to fight or scold. I haven't been. I love you, and I'm sorry. Poppy is communicating in bad faith. Interesting. There needs to be more conversation about what boundaries actually mean. That's a problem that we're experiencing in Discourse, the weaponization of boundaries as a concept, yeah. Within 10 minutes, she changed her Discord status to something about being fractally irritated with an enraged emoji. I don't know how my responses made no sense. I saw an unknown causing problems and offered answers. I saw uncertainty about the availability and offered specific free times. It may not be what she wanted, but it makes some sense at least. And the idea that my mistake was a pattern that had happened twice at that point. The first time, I didn't think we needed to communicate it because we weren't officially dating. How is this a pattern of obfuscation? The second time, it was an honest mistake. That's it. I wanted to own my behavior, but over the voice call that kept being pushed out. The fact that my attempts to solve the problem were seen as reassurance and platitudes hurt I was really trying to address what I saw was the source of the issue. This is her asking for the break. This is valid, but the harshness of it is just unnecessarily demeaning. The repeated "no, I will not" framing is just weird and intense. Yeah. No, I will not be reading an insanely long post I did not ask for. And even worse is how she rejects what I told her was important to me that she read. Why do that? Why like that? Poppy has repeatedly stated her understanding on how uncertainty and fear of abandonment affects BPD. She knows this intimately. It's something we bonded over, something she assured me she would never do. Yet she left me with this: cruelty, uncertainty, and I love you. This is the difference between Poppy's favorite person versus someone who isn't her favorite. How the hell can anyone find Poppy or Zena interesting romantically? I don't know. It's so strange. Poppy has repeatedly stated her understanding on how blah, 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 I love you. Okay, but the behavior exhibited since last week makes me question whether or not we are a good fit. You don't need to be scared, at least, about anything involving me. I'm not going anywhere, nor would I ever hint at that. I know what that does to us. Guidelines for non-borderlines. Your loved one with BPD tells you they're upset. Ask them sarcastically. Do not ask them sarcastically if they really feel like that. Do not ask if they think blank, exaggeration. Do not get upset at them for being upset. Do not antagonize them. Do not dismiss, mock, or ignore their feelings or any cognitive dissonances they may have. And what did Poppy do in that situation? All of these things. Poppy is well aware of how BPD affects perception and writes about it. But when it comes to regulating that paranoia in action, she just doesn't. Before she initiated the break, she left me with this. And very significantly, note this. Talk to you next Wednesday. Remember this. Oh yeah, almost forgot. I need this to be de-escalated. The stress created by these situations has been doing me harm by preventing me from getting work done, taking care of my partner, and streaming. It's harm when it affects her, but why hasn't it mattered how it's been affecting me so far? Week 2 to 3, silence. As much as I disliked how this went, I respected their space. She asked for a break, and I gave it to her. While the hanging conflict did interfere with my trip somewhat, there were other factors that also made things stressful. I was struggling. Miss Milena says, about to board my flight. Let me know when it's okay to reach out again. I send this directly to Poppy as I board my flight. I sent this directly to Zena. Read this carefully and consider the context preceding it. Zena's entire stance for berating me so far has been that I don't understand PMDD and getting angry at my attempts to fix that through them. Hey, I don't know when we're going to talk about everything, but I wanted to let you know that I'm looking into resources on PMDD so I can learn more. I'm sending this here because I don't want Poppy to potentially get stressed by notifications from me before she's ready to talk. I understand that no resource is a one-size-fits-all kind of deal, so I wanted to check with you if you had any particular ones handy that you felt were most applicable to your particular experience. IAPMD seems to be more clinical, and for people with PMDD, I'm looking for articles for friends/partners/family to help them be more supportive. I'm planning on asking Poppy about what she's found helpful too, once she's let me know that she's ready to talk again and we figure this all out. Out of what we found so far, this is the one that I felt was most useful. If it's all right, when you have the spoons, would you mind taking a look at it and letting me know how accurate it is? I want you to know that I'm not going to be asking you to change your behavior. I don't believe that any of this is intentional, and I'm not blaming you for it. I'm working on understanding it better so I can be a better friend when it pops up. I'm open to anything you're able and willing to offer to help me to do that. And I still see you as the ZZ I've grown so fond of over the past couple of months. This is just a new thing I'm learning about, but you're worth the effort, and I want to make it. Oh, did we get raided? Oh, thank you for the raid, Loner Box. Loner Box. Loner Box. We love Loner Box here. Loner Box, thank you for the raid. Okay. I don't know how much you guys know about this drama. Thank you so much for the raid, Loner Box. I don't know how much you guys know about this drama. But essentially, what you need to know is that I am going over a drama of two people who are kind of like in the same-ish space as Vosh. I know Lonerbox has actually had interactions with these people before. So essentially, a whole bunch of documents were put out recently about these two people, Zena and Poppy. Zena and Poppy are people who stream together. They have a channel together. They live their life together. They're partners. And they engage in polycules with a whole bunch of different people. Now, the documents that came out have basically accused them of being, whether that's in relationships or with their child. We went over the document that talks about Zena and Poppy's relationship with Spawn, the child that Poppy has been raising since they were 4, basically. Poppy's been the sole guardian. And that doc was pretty bad. It indicated some pretty abusive behavior. And then we looked at another document, which was of Noe Flake, who is a former partner of Poppy and somebody that Poppy accused of by deception. And thank you so much for the raid. Here, let me change my settings so that anybody can type in the chat. My apologies. I forgot that's on. So here we go. So just so here. So thank you so much for the raid. Continuing. The second document that we went over was about Noe Flakes. Noe Flakes was kind of like entering kind of like a relationship with Poppy, because Poppy and Zena are into these poly relationships. And so, by the way, anybody should be able to chat regardless of subscriber status. So, thank you so much for the raid. Essentially, so basically, Noe Flakes and Poppy were seeing each other and they had planned to meet each other. And then Poppy blew up on Noe Flakes out of nowhere. And it was over like really minor infractions, right? And things that even were outside of Noe Flake's control. So after Poppy blew up on Noe Flake and made her, basically verbally berated her and made her feel like shit, and she did this multiple times, Noe Flake said that she was not sure if she was interested in being in the relationship anymore. And then Poppy and Zena start to pressure this Noe Flakes person that, oh, still let us visit. We booked our hotel room. We already spent money on the hotel. We can't get that money back. And they keep pressuring her, like, oh, I know that you want this. I know that some part of you must love me still. And Noe Flakes is like completely checked out, is disassociating because, you know, this person's also mentally ill and is very vulnerable, in a very vulnerable mental state. Poppy and Zena keep pressuring this person. Poppy asks this person, why can't you say that you love me? Noe Flake says, I'm sorry, I don't know if I feel that way. And then Poppy asks, like, oh, can you just try saying it and see if you feel anything? Noe Flakes tries, says she doesn't feel anything. And then Poppy says, no, we can fix this. Noe Flakes tells both Poppy and Zena multiple times that it's a very slim chance that things are going to change how she feels. So they finally meet up. They pressure her into meeting them at the hotel. Then, oh, by the way, this is important to say, okay? Noe Flakes asks them, like, basically Noe Flakes is like, what can happen from me trying? It's such a slim chance and stuff. And Zena specifically says to Noe Flakes that nothing bad is going to happen if you at least try. Same thing that Poppy says. Poppy also says, same thing, nothing bad is going to happen if you at least try. So Noe Flakes goes and meets with them. Noe Flakes spends the night. Then Noe Flakes and Poppy have sex. Noe Flakes knows by that point that she doesn't feel love for Poppy anymore. So she tells Poppy, I don't feel that way. Poppy begs her to stay. Noe Flakes leaves. Then over the next few days, you can see Poppy on Twitter slowly twisting what happened. Instead of it just being like a hookup that didn't turn out the way that Poppy wanted, she turns it into, she raped me by deception. That's what she says. Poppy says that Noe Flake raped me by deception because I thought that this would fix things. Even though Noe Flake said that there's a slim chance of this fixing anything. Poppy's like, she lied to me. She raped me by deception. And not to forget, Poppy also is one of these people who believe she has alters and stuff. She has multiple personalities. She has headmates. One of those headmates is canonically 12 to 14 years old. And she also says, while saying that Noe Flakes raped her by deception, she also says that Noe Flakes abandoned a child because one of her headmates is like 12 to 14 years old. It is insane. There is so much in this drama. There's multiple documents that have come out alleging behavior from both Zena and Poppy, and I believe it because the document about how they treated their child is horrible. And Noe's asexual, yes, and Noe is asexual. You know how Poppy deals with that? Poppy goes on social media to claim, oh, Noe's not actually asexual. She was totally attracted to me. Trust me, guys. Straight up frat bro mentality, by the way. And I have to say, the whole by deception thing is something that could be used against like a woman who's in a marital case or something. Like a husband could use that against a woman in a marital case. Like, oh, I pressured her until she gave in to sex. And then she didn't really want it. So really, I'm the one who was here because she deceived me, you know? And so the part with their child, this child has been raised by Poppy. I mean, if I go on the child, I'm going to be so upset. But this child has been raised by Poppy since they were 4. They're 23 at this point. When they escaped the house that Poppy and Zena were they were living with in Poppy and Zena, they escaped through a window and they were 80 pounds. 80 pounds. They also had POTS, and because Zena took up all the time in the kitchen, they weren't able to eat regularly. They also were not allowed to use the bathroom regularly. They also were given all the chores that these two didn't want to do. And it's literally Cinderella story, basically, with that kid. They were 80 pounds when they left the house. They escaped through a window. And you know what Poppy's response was to that? She said that the kids that she has, that she's adopted online, as adults, by the way, have been more like kids to her in the past 6 months than her actual kid has been for the past 10 years. Now, if you do the math, 80 pounds, this kid escapes through a window. They are 23 years old. If you do the math, that these people on Discord, full-grown adults that Poppy didn't have to deal with the hard parts with, are more of like children to her than the person she raised since they were a baby. 10 years ago is when that person would have been 13. So what I am understanding from this situation is that as soon as things got hard for Poppy at 13, because that's a hard age when you're dealing with kids, as soon as things got hard, Poppy stopped viewing them like one of their kids. It's like, no, Sherlock, you're gonna have a better time with your Discord friends who you're masquerading as children than you are with your actual kid, who you have to struggle with, who you have to, raising kids is not meant to be easy. When they reach, anybody who's had a part in raising a kid would know they reach a certain age and it's not easy. And you start realizing they have traits that you don't particularly like, and you hope to guide them away from those things, and hopefully they don't develop those things. And if they do, that you develop some skills with them that they, can avoid really leaning into those character traits, right? But yeah, Spawn was basically like taking care of themselves. And it's really sad. It's really sad. Like, just because it gets hard doesn't mean you stop being a parent. So it wasn't a situation for that child. It was a situation for Noe Flakes, who they accused falsely of, who was having like mental breakdowns because of how much stress they were putting on her. Now we are reading the story of Milena, a former friend and also a former partner of Poppy and a friend of Zena. By the way, Zena is one of the main drivers of just terrible behavior. Poppy is too, but they are like, dude. Zena is like next level bitch, okay? Yeah, and Spawn paid rent and food. Yeah. So that is my summary so far of what we've all covered. Right now, we are at the part where Milena has written this document. We are in day 14, basically. And she comes back and she sends a message to ZZ about her PMD. And here, note my approach here. No aggression. Acknowledging my ignorance. Taking initiative. Understanding that my research won't cover everything. Asking for their input. And reinforcing my love and care for them. Seeing them as more than their disorder and remembering our friendship. He skimmed through this and just called Spawn a bed blob. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, other people in this situation certainly have their flaws. But the other people with flaws, we can, like, try and point out they have flaws. Sure. That doesn't make this not a situation. Doesn't make it not that Zena and Poppy have been to multiple people. It doesn't make it not that probably them being a bed blob has to do with them being raised since birth by Poppy and having had all of Poppy's multiple partners take priority in Poppy's head over them. You can say that these people have issues. You know, everybody does in this situation. I'm not gonna lie. But and you can say it's cringe, like, right? Like the multiple personalities is obviously cringe because there are other people who have multiple personalities or whatever. But at the end of the day, the conclusion still is that Poppy and Zena have acted in manners towards their friends and towards a child that they were supposed to be raising. And when Spawn finally escaped that house, they left through a window. They are 5'1", and they were 80 pounds. 80 pounds. Now I know what you're referring to, deep sea monster. So that was just my opinion on that. I'm sure Chud didn't mean anything bad by it, calling the kid a bed blob, because the kid did have some issues, but it's a little bit more complicated. If we're dealing with like actual allegations of, it's like, yeah, that kid was definitely in an environment. They had to keep logs. It was like cult-like, you know? The real bed blob here is Zena. Look at them. Their only income is disability, and they only have that because of Poppy. What's the TLDR of this drama star? The real TLDR is just that these two people are being accused by multiple people of behavior. If you want a more thorough explanation, you can kind of rewind back to the beginning of this stream. At some point, I don't know how many minutes in, if somebody can figure out for me, but at some point I go on a rant and I explain all the minute details on this. So anyways, back to this. Note my approach here. No aggression, acknowledging my ignorance, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we read that. I tried. I really tried. I nervously joked with a friend. I wonder how they're going to find a way to get upset with this one. Again, this is Milena's perspective. Milena is a former partner and former friend, okay, and former editor as well. I was completely unprepared to find out. It's one of the most unhinged things I've ever read in a lifetime of reading unhinged things, and a message to a friend on the 15th asking for their opinion on the situation. Yeah, that all sounds pretty accurate. I was really hoping that our conversation would give me the opportunity to just ask very simply, what would you have preferred as a response? Like, I was trying to do what I thought was addressing the problem, so I want your perspective on what you were looking for. I want to understand how to better support you in these moments because clearly we have different needs. Day 16, Poppy's birthday. I wish that the messages were included here. Oh, Star, show the newcomers the fish couple. True. So we've been talking about how these two look like fish to me. So I made PNG tubers to represent them when I read their lines. So this one's Zena, who is like the male anglerfish that like latches onto the female anglerfish and gets absorbed into their body. And then this is Poppy, who is the female anglerfish. They really do look like them. They really do look like them. And the female, the female anglerfish. So that's what's going on. Okay. I wish these were included. Day 16, Poppy's birthday. I've been looking forward to this day for well over a month. I hurried to figure out my own persona so I could commission art of our sonas on a date from her favorite artist. I had wanted to figure out ways to pamper her and Zizi from afar. Wait, before we move forward with this, I want to show you guys just how similar they look, okay? It's weird because their camera angle keeps changing. But I'm telling you, they look so similar, okay? Look, this is Zena. They look so similar. Maybe the skin can be a little bit paler. And this is Poppy. I literally photoshopped it to make them look like this. I worked very hard on this, okay? All right. Somehow the fish look better. True. Okay. Anyways, back to this. Also, just so you guys know, it's pretty wild. The story is pretty wild, okay? Like, even if there was no allegations here, like, I feel like any normie would be looking at this and being like, yo, what the is going on? What the right? So, okay. They've been having a really hard time for a while now, and as things got harder, I'd been excited to help them celebrate Poppy, a farewell to their problems and the turning of a new leaf. Instead, I hadn't heard from them and was fighting to not believe that I was now one of those problems. I'd been excited for weeks to help relieve her substantial stress on her birthday. Instead, I spent the entire weekend feeling like the best way I could help her relax was by being as non-existent as possible. Other partners posted loving tweets. Her Discord status was a dancing emoji and an exuberant, I'm the birthday girl. I'd been told we'd talk on day 14. Nothing. Not even an ask for an extension. Like, she didn't even miss me. She didn't even care that I wasn't a part of it. I had a meltdown about whether it was okay to even say happy birthday to her, whether it would have been seen as a violation. I settled for this. Happy birthday, love. No response. Other partners posted loving tweets. Her Discord status was a dancing emoji and an exuberant I'm the birthday girl. Oh, I settled for this. Oh, okay, looks like she retyped it. Oh, and remember the lovely people chat for the polycule and close friends? I'd been removed from it sometime around day 14/15. But you know, use your tools. That weekend, a friend and partner of theirs would reach out to ask how I was doing. I figured they knew what was going on, so I just dumped this on her. She stated that she wasn't comfortable with it, so I immediately deleted them and apologized. This is relevant later. I don't know, I hate being a downer all the time. I feel like they're just putting off cutting me off, and they preferred if I just went away on my own. I feel like they really don't care about how this is affecting me. I don't feel like I matter. I didn't even work yesterday. I've had plans for my present for her for over a month, and instead I was trying to focus on giving her space so I wouldn't ruin her birthday by existing. She said she was adopting me. She stood up for me. She reached out when I was hurting and thought I was too much and guided me through it to talking and listened and told me she wasn't going anywhere. And now it's like, I'm not a partner. I'm a problem that they just don't want to deal with. Like nothing I've done or said so far matters. Like I don't matter. And then I kick myself because maybe I'm just crazy and doing this to myself. And it's not actually that bad. But what evidence do I have to support that? It's just me arguing against myself in my head with more evidence for the more painful possibilities and still blaming myself either way. I just need a timeline or some reassurance or some sign that I'm not stupid for trying to hold out some hope that it'll be okay. But it's just silence. And I'm sure they have very good reasons for it from their perspective, but it would be really cool if they could just push through them just enough to give me anything at all. I'm drowning here, and I feel like any indication I might attempt to give about my needs is going to be seen as manipulative or toxic. She kept reassuring me that it was safe to ask for what I needed. And then it collided with Zena's PMD. I said, it feels like there's no room for me, and they assured me I'm overreacting. And even now, I'm kind of scared to bring it up to you because if they found out, they might see it as manipulation or something. I told Poppy I was scared we'd come back from a week-long break and she'd have already made her mind up without giving us a chance to talk about things. And now it's been 3 more days and it feels like that's exactly what's happening. So that's how I'm doing. I could go on, but I think you got it. I also am about to drop $800 on an unexpected tire change and wheel alignment, so that's fun. It's nuts. It's crazy. For the rest of the weekend, I accepted the best way to contribute to her birthday was by not being a part of it. It was awful. More messages to my friends about it. No, just going to go offline until I'm not a problem anymore. And I can't just keep seeing their status updates and their profile pictures in my recent messages. Nobody can fix this but her, and it's nothing but cold shoulder. So I'll just go for now. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking to people when I'm like this. I swing between disassociation, bitter I'm the problem spiraling, and crying. Why would anyone deal with that? Pointless, hopeless, not worth it. Something to be pushed to the back of the cupboard so they can focus on their fun weekend. A problem to be avoided and managed. No concern in the slightest for how it's affecting me. Set an expectation for a conversation after a week. Stay silent for several more days. Who knows how long? Accuse me of causing harm with a couple of days of stress when they're fine with whatever harm ignoring me causes stress over 2 weeks. During road mapping and performance reviews at work, my coworkers are apparently telling my boss about my noticeably negative perspective, but when it's my feelings, that's my responsibility. When it's their feelings, it's my fault. So none of this is their mess to address, and all of it is my own fault for not self-regulating out of. Their feelings are paramount, mine are a non-factor, and I'd been looking forward to celebrating her birthday with her for like 2 months. Foil her as a closure to all of these problems from the past few months. Surprise, now I'm one of them. So the best thing I can do is just go until they give a shit. Sit around for a month before I accept that they just wanted me gone. Had no intention of talking this out and trying to heal. Thrown away without a chance. Why can't they at least care enough to tell me when I'm going to hear from them again? I just need this ambiguity to stop. But right now they're out, but I don't know if that's much of an excuse. I actually wonder if Poppy and Zena are deliberately trying to drive people to Minecraft. Possibly. Possibly. I thought Poppy would understand because she has BPD and is a therapist. How bad ambiguity is for us. Yeah, and they had 2 whole days between the end of our week-long break and her birthday to try to talk this out. And they literally haven't said anything to me. Poppy said she felt like she was being ignored and managed because I was offering the wrong kind of support. So what the does she call when she's doing to me? I don't deserve this. Day 20. So to recap so far, Poppy understands the existential dread of BPD. She recognizes her own paranoid tendencies. I told her how hard it was for me after just a couple of days. She left me wondering if we would survive this break. She stayed silent with no end in sight. On day 20, Poppy finally breaks the silence to tell me 3 things. 1, she needs more time and she doesn't know how much. 2, she's still angry with me. 3, cancel my trip. Damn, dude, day 20. Poppy. So we probably need to set up a time to have everyone sit down and talk. I apologize it took so long to reach out, but I was still really angry, and to be honest, I'm still very angry. I have not made any decisions as of yet, but I do think that it would be in everyone's best interest to cancel the trip out here. Until we come to some sort of understanding, having you come out here during the time that Zena will most likely be experiencing PMDD doesn't feel like a good idea, and ZZ has expressed feeling unsafe about that situation. I want to reiterate that I'm still trying to figure out where I stand with things. Between the confusing messages and erratic behavior, I'm not really sure what to do. I'll try to reach out once I figure out which direction I want to go, or if I want to have a conversation before I make any decisions. Sitting down between the 3 of us would be a good idea, but I wanted to give you a heads up so you could get refunded on your tickets. Poppy. Very different vibes. Very different vibes. I actually think it would be better if I put the PNG tubers like over my camera, right? So it's like actually like they're there saying it, right? Let me put it over. Properties. Wait, how can I flip this? Filters. It is just dumb. It is just dumb, but it is, you know, it's drama, I guess. So how do I flip it? I want to flip it. How do I flip it? How do I flip it? Chat, how do I flip this? I can't flip it. I want to flip it. What the frick? I can't flip it, guys. Unless I do it manually. And that sounds like a pain in the ass. Okay, so you guys are just going to have to deal with this, okay? So when one of them speaks, it's just going to be over my face, okay? Bring on the special entertainment. This was the special entertainment. What are you talking about? Okay, there, this. Okay, now, okay, all right. This will be good. So instead of seeing my face, when one of them is speaking, you'll see one of their faces, okay? All right, okay. 3 days without resolution had made it hard for me to function. I told them that. She said we'd talk a week prior. It had been 3 weeks. This is speculation on my part, but I think it's fair to say that she'd been discussing this with Zena during our time apart, which would at least partially explain the lingering anger. It's still frustrating that they never gave a shit about my feelings. Only theirs mattered. I don't want to dismiss any feelings that Zena had around the situation, although I'm admittedly confused by them. I don't know what made me come across as unsafe, considering that Zena was the aggressive one. But put a pin in this reason. If I want to have a conversation before I make any decisions. You don't need to be scared, at least about anything involving me. I'm not going anywhere, nor would I ever hint at that. I know what that does to us. And she knows what it does to them, and she still does it. Wow. She's a filthy liar on top of it all. Also, note the additional notch tighter on the fear. It's now a possibility that she won't even want to have a conversation before making a decision. Remember, she said she never even hints at things like this. She knows what that does to us, and yet here we are. And even then, this is my response. Please read this when you're in a better headspace. I understand my mistakes, and I'm ready to own them. I also need my own concerns and needs to be heard and seen. But it's okay that needs to wait until I've addressed yours. I need you to see that I'm coming to this with an open heart and mind. I love you both. I still believe that tones and intentions were misinterpreted over text. I avoided addressing specifics because we were still talking over text. I'm ready to own and address mistakes. At the same time, it feels like a lot of additional intent has been assigned to my actions that isn't there. I believe we've all been approaching this from the bias of bad prior experiences with others. And I don't think your anger is going to lessen without you bringing your concerns to me. In my experience, letting things like this sit there with no additional input just makes them fester, especially when BPD is locking us into an uncharitable perspective. I'm trying to approach this gently and softly. I'm convinced that all of us were trying to be heard and are still new to how each other handle conflict. So it just cascaded. All of this feels rooted in pain. I only ask that you please don't make any decisions before we talk. I'd even propose that we talk while you're still angry because I think there have been major misunderstandings. As long as you're willing to work with me to help me understand your concerns more clearly, what you specifically want addressed, and let me address them, I think I can handle the anger. I also think we have two separate conversations going on now too. The PMDD conversations and the Athena conversation. By the way, anything makes Poppy angry. For PMDD, I need to understand it better. I'm trying to research more about it and how to be a better friend when it happens. Any help navigating Zena's specific situation is welcome. I already messaged them the rest of what I wanted to say, and you're welcome to read it. I only didn't send it here because I didn't want you to get notifications from me before you told me it was okay. As for Athena, I'm sorry that I forgot to inform you again. I asked for forgiveness because there was so much going on. I scheduled those flights around the time that Ghost came to us. On my end, I was freshly returning to work after surgery, coming out at work, dealing with the third round of layoffs in 3 months. I had a new boss who still doesn't understand my job, and being asked once again to provide things that my job doesn't provide to prove that I deserve to be there. Setting up roadmaps for the next half year, and now writing up a self-review for the past several months. This is on top of being flaked on by friends and family at every turn. I have an idea of how to avoid this being a problem next time, even if things are hectic. But I'm also speaking for some empathy for how overwhelming everything was. I am sorry, and I'll change my approach accordingly in the future. I want to explain the whole situation to you if you'll let me. I don't understand what you mean by erratic behavior, but I hope you'll help me understand it, and I hope that the context will help you understand it. I know that this isn't even close to everything that needs to be said, but I hope it's providing some context as to where I'm coming from. I don't want to be approached with this with any hardness or anger or resentment or bitterness, even though it's been a rough time. I don't want to approach this with any hardness or anger or resentment or bitterness, even though it's been a rough time with those feelings. I'm approaching both of you with the intent of learning and healing and loving. We met at a rocky time, but I still see what we are outside of that. I hope we don't lose our shot at it because of the circumstances. Do you have a general idea of when you might be ready to talk? When you can give me an update? I don't want to push, but this indefinite silence has been difficult. I miss you both very much. I hope you'll give me the chance to make this better. The idea that you might not feels dreadful. I promise I'll listen and I'll try. This whole truth thing with Zena gave me weird echoes of Jody Hildebrandt BS. Not saying they were the same, just stuck out to me. I don't know who that is. Note my tone and approach: calm, accommodating, ready to accept responsibility, trying to point out the disconnects in a peaceful, non-accusatory manner. Seems like Milena has really been trying. Willing to address their needs before mine, willing to handle the anger if necessary, not rejecting their feelings, willing to listen to their concerns about my behavior, to try to understand it better. You know, this really could have just been resolved in a call, in a voice call. And the two of them were just so unwilling. Trying to respect my friends' needs without making it seem like I'm attacking or insulting them or impugning their character or their professional knowledge or abilities. Day 21, Zena goes off. We ready? Okay. I have a lot to say about it. Let's start with the opener here. I haven't left anything out here. You have the full context of what I've said to them leading up to this. You still don't take us seriously, do you? What kind of cartoon villain is this? Thing is, it gets worse. Take your time with this. Each paragraph is its own thing to consider. Then we'll go through it together. And just remember, they turned me into content. I was going to keep all of this to myself, but they turned me into content. Told my friends I was unstable and toxic. Chat, like the stream. True. Like the stream. We've got 121 people in here and only 43 likes. Come on, guys. Smash the like button. I know some of you are tabbed out right now. Because you're playing a video game. But I beg you. I am begging you. Please, tab back in. please press that like button. Please. I need you to boost me in the algorithm. And the way that you do that completely for free is smashing that like button. Can we get some more likes? More than 47 likes, guys? We've got 121 viewers. We have to be able to get at least half of 120. Can we get 60 likes? We're at 52 now. Can we get 60? Can we get 65? Tab back in, guys. Tab back in. Press that like button. I know you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. Press that button. Smash it. Smash that like button like you want to smash this story, because this story sucks. Smash that like button like I would smash a window to get somebody out of any situation like this. Please smash. Please smash the like button. Possibly subscribe. Maybe just a little bit. So Jody Hildebrandt is the child accomplice of 8 passengers. Mommy vlogger Ruby Frank. Completely unrelated, but that part of the abuse echoed, just like the video. By the way, I hope it helps. Thank you. I cracked my screen smashing it. Don't smash that hard. Guys, 3 more likes to get to 60. 3 more. 3 more likes to get to 60. This should be easy for us. There are 120 people in here. Tab over. Tab over and press that button. 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 Smash that button. I know that you can do it, okay? I know, so, again, some of you are tabbed away. Maybe one of you or 2 of you has walked away from the computer, but you can still hear me. I'm going to post this in the Twitch chat, actually, so Twitch people can press the like button as well. Twitch people, please press the like button. Please click that link and press the like button. We're at 58. 2 more likes. 2 more likes. Come on, guys. 2 more. 58. We want to get to 60. Can we get to 60 likes? I already did. Thank you, Deep Sea Monster. Did it for the fish faces, Lamau. Thank you. I always like and share the stream when you start. Oh, thank you, Grayscale. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We're still at 58. Guys, we need 2 more. 2 more likes. 2 more. Hey, the formerly homeless trans guy who's local to the toxic Poppycule, here and liking the stream. Thank you so much. Thank you. Smash it. Or mash it, if you will. We're at 60. Thank you all. I love you all very much. 60. We're at 60 likes finally. Okay. And if you like the content, please consider subscribing, super chatting, becoming a member, because this is how I make my money, and it really does help me. Okay? Okay. Back to this. So we're about to see some unhinged from Zena here. Okay, you guys ready? Now, wait, what? How many is it? No, it's 59! Oh my god, who did that? Guys, we can't go forward until we get at least 60 likes. We can't go forward until we get at least 60 likes. Who unliked? Okay. Oh, no, we're back at 60. Okay. Okay, back to this. Back to this. You still don't take us seriously, do you? Oh, wait. Let me turn on the Xena fish. Fairy Queen, thank you for the subscribe. Very much appreciated. Okay. Okay, so this is apparently super unhinged. Okay, ready? You still don't take us seriously, do you? This isn't a BPD or PMDD or a text issue. You broke the agreement that you had with Poppy. Both myself and Penny, in addition to Poppy, explained the situation with giving Poppy warning. You agreed to do it and then broke your word. And now you're saying that you have another idea and that you're trying to show up with an open mind? What makes you think that you're more qualified to decide what Poppy needs for her mental health? You should have held to your agreement, not tried to suggest creating a workaround for not holding to it. Poppy has been working on this for at least a decade, if not more, and you didn't even try the solution that was already established with the help of professionals and tested in other situations. For that matter, you can't make decisions for me with PMDD either. I don't need you in that way, and I don't want you in on my PMDD. I don't think you have the skills to deal with me or Poppy during any kind of mental triggers. And no, you researching isn't helping me. You cut me out of the entire process of advocating for myself. You've made a decision to help me and be there for me that you say you're doing out of kindness, but you've never gotten my consent for any of it. You have no idea what you're actually getting into. For someone who talks like they have knowledge of poly and mental health, you certainly don't act like you have the knowledge. I don't mind you being
around as a general friend, but that's it. I don't want you involved with my mental health. I can explain more in a VC if needed, but this is where I'm at. Also, it's inappropriate to take your issues with us to blank. I know we've been over triangulation and conflict of interest numerous times with you around that. I would hope you know better. Let's go. Right out of the gate, tactic. This isn't a BPD or PMDD or text issue. Dude, this is straight up gaslighting. It is. You broke the agreement that you had with Poppy, both myself and Penny. I don't think anyone has the skills to deal with Zena and Poppy, like, in general, yeah. Rudhan says, oh dear, I know more than I'd care to. Nothing I'm currently at liberty to disclose, other than the time in 2019 that I introduced myself to them at a local goth night. They were bitchy. Damn. I'm so glad my fish can't use the internet. So true. Invalidate and dismiss my assertions and concerns. Replace it with something that's my fault. The continued emphasis on my offensive, forgetting to tell them about my plans to see Athena for the first time in the middle of chaos. Yeah, I would understand it if it were like a recurring issue, but it does not seem like one. I'm not saying that my mistake didn't cause harm or have consequences, but given what they're telling me to just accept as how things are, you'd think they'd have some mercy for my misstep. Nope. My up is too egregious. No empathy or understanding, only condemnation. And now you're saying that you have another idea and how you... Okay, yeah. My other idea was a way to avoid forgetting in the future, no matter how hectic things are. It was going to get their permission to tell them no matter what else was going on. But now I'm deciding what Poppy needs? I'm assuming this is referring to the festering anger. I addressed this in my response, but TLDR, it's basic conflict resolution in psychology. If sitting on it for 2 weeks isn't helping, maybe we should try something else. This is just wild, so I shouldn't propose a solution for next time. I should just not have f***ed up in the first place. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Appeal to authority, sure. But when I've been successful with my methods countless times and yours are frankly rather maybe we should try my way. Also, I'm assuming this solution is another reference to using tools or whatever. I can't tell anymore. Please read through everything I've said. Please tell me where I was trying to make decisions for them. I can see a couple of places where it could be taken that way, but only from an uncharitable perspective. I've been trying to understand how to navigate future situations. Also, in regards to me understanding how to deal with Zena and Poppy's emotions. This is from before. Poppy says, I like you because you are sweet, kind, thoughtful, intelligent, accepting, willing to challenge me, admit to mistakes, a cutie, someone who makes my community better, and you have made my life better. I have been happier for the first time in a long while. I'm not doing that voice ever again. Milena says, she sends like this emoji. Thanks, love. I'm humbled by your attention. Maybe one more time. LOL, I appreciate that you own your flaws and personal baggage. I appreciate that you like me despite seeing how messy I am. I like that you respect and care about Zizi. I like how giving you are. You're important to both of us. You really do make our lives better. If it was a psychological trigger, she most likely would have worked through it or be able to identify it. I know it's hard with long-distance relationships. You really do help Poppy. I know it's hard that you can't do more, but just know that even you just being there for her is helping. Oh my god. That didn't seem to be an issue until Zena jumped up because I said something they were upset about. Seemed like a simple, unintentional misunderstanding on the other party's part. This is the one. Go back and read what I said. I specifically asked them for their input and acknowledge the limitations of research. They frame it as a violation of consent. Yes, absolute insane behavior. It's just back and forth between tearing each other down and jerking each other off. Yeah. Never mind the dip back into the cartoon villain territory with that last bit. For someone who talks like they have knowledge of poly and mental health, you certainly don't act like you have the knowledge. Right back at you, Zena. I don't mind you being around as a general friend, but that's it. I don't need you involved with my mental health. I can explain more in a VC if needed, but this is where I'm at. Projection, and again, my intention here was always just to be a better friend and to understand for my own sake what to do if another episode happened around me so I could navigate it and take care of myself better.
Inappropriate to take your issues with us to blank. Yeah. This is referring to the earlier situation I mentioned and posted screenshots of. I was in a bad place. I made a mistake. I immediately owned it and apologized. What I find interesting here is how they're allowed to keep all of the friends for themselves and talk about me. And this is where I just went, oh, f this, and stop pulling punches. This is a lot, but some have said that this was what they've been hoping to see from me. So hopefully, it's a somewhat gratifying wall of text for you. Oh boy, let's see. Miss Milena says, firstly, I do take you seriously. The constant projection of intent is not helpful. My only issue is that I don't understand and I'm confused on how to engage with the situation. I would like to do the work to understand how to engage in the way that you would like / need me to. I'm not trying to decide what either of you need for your mental health. It's simply a part of all of us, and I'm trying to understand how to engage in whatever ways are most appropriate for your particular experiences. I honestly hate Zena's guts with every fiber of my being. Yeah, same. They are a massive bitch who looks like a fish, who looks like a fat fish. It's simply a part of all of us, and I'm trying to understand how to engage in whatever ways are most appropriate for your particular experiences. That's it. I truly don't understand how you could read what I sent you and take it as me trying to manage you unless you're dead set on seeing me as a bad actor. I'm not trying to make decisions for you. I'm trying to understand how to be a good friend for you in these situations. That's it. I told you I'm not trying to get you to change your behavior or manage you. I just want to know what you prefer me to do, especially since all my ideas seem to be wrong. But I'm just trying to figure out how to engage with this respectfully and supportively. I promise that's all I'm trying to do, and I'm sorry that I can't seem to express that properly. You get mad about how nobody knows anything about PMDD, but when I try to educate myself on the matter before I re-engage, it's a violation of your consent. Even when I asked you to point me to anything that you think is best representative of your situation, it feels like anything I try to do is going to be wrong. That's a bad feeling. Secondly, this whole situation with me breaking my word. I made a mistake. There was a lot going on for all of us. I'm not trying to figure out a workaround. I'm recognizing that I fucked up, figuring out why I fucked up, and then coming up with a plan so that doesn't cause the same problem next time. What would you have me do aside from not having fucked up in the first place? All I can think to do is to work to understand what happened and make a plan to not have it happen next time. If you have a different preference, please tell me what it is. Third, I understand the tools. I do use them. There's a point where they stop working, though. It's not just a matter of triggers and self-regulation. Having people who supposedly love you go completely radio silent for an indefinite period of time is legitimately upsetting. It's stressful in a way that you can't just self-regulate through constantly for days on end. Just because this reached a tipping point where the tools stopped working doesn't mean I never tried in the first place. Fourth, this is all an issue of trust. We had assumptions and expectations that have been broken all around. The question is how to go about reestablishing that trust. I have worked to get to a place where I can have this conversation in good faith and give you both the benefit of the doubt. I'm not getting that feeling from either of you. This situation is heated. It's not going to get less heated by focusing on other things. Whatever you refocus on it, it will remain at this level of difficulty. You've taken 2 weeks now and you're still angry. You're still this angry. Why is the solution in your eyes to take additional time? Fifth, this is about the situation and mistakes that were made. That's my focus. That's how conflict gets resolved and relationships get repaired. I'd appreciate it if you didn't talk to me like I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to polyamory and mental health, especially polyamory. Personal attacks and condescension are not the path to peace, especially tweets. My offenses so far have been mistakes. I have deliberately avoided letting this slide into personal attacks because it doesn't help. Stop insulting me and talking down to me. Engage with me on the level that I'm putting the work into staying on. And lastly, Gila caught me in a moment of emotional elevation and asked me how I was doing. I realized that it was inappropriate and stopped. That's that. We can have a civil conversation about this over VC. You can read back through the relationship we had before. all of this and remember what we're trying to fix, or you can keep assigning me negative intent and bad faith based on assumptions born from conflict-ridden moments. I don't hear efforts towards solutions from you. Only insults, accusations, and extrapolation. I don't understand how you see that as productive in any way when I've been actively asking questions and trying to understand the situation and your comfort levels better. I'm trying to do better, to learn, to be better. Every effort is taken as another offense by you. Yet you won't tell me how you want me to engage. Very similar to how they treated Spawn. They wouldn't tell Spawn what they did wrong. That weekend where they took the internet away and then kept it gone for like 15 days. Milena, you dropped this. Yeah, true. She dropped the crown. She's a queen here. Okay, I told you how hard 3 days of this was for me. Wait, sorry. I'm trying to do better, to learn, to be better. Every effort is taken as another offense by you. Yet you won't tell me how you want me to engage, only how you hate what I've done so far. I told you how hard 3 days of this was for me, and you've turned it into 3 weeks with no end in sight. That affects me. I'm trying to do what I can to show that I care about you and doing the work to be better for the sake of this relationship. What else can I do? What can I ask for other than to actually have a chance to talk about this? Yo, it is the same, yeah. It is this exact same how they treated Spawn. I have no reason to believe they read any of this, but at least I said something. I'm kind of proud of how well I handled this. I called out so much that I wanted to. They didn't respond. This was the last I would hear from Zena before the breakup. Week 4. Breakup. Thank you for reading this far. If you haven't taken a break yet and feel fatigued, please do now. I know I'm exhausted. But, full context. The rest here are DMs with Poppy. On day 22, I noticed Poppy's status just saying and a crying emoji. I sent her this. All this conflict with Milena is distracting Zena from their day job of yelling at Spawn. True! Fat fish. Living in the kitchen. Taking turns living in the kitchen and in the bathroom. That's what she is. Fat fish. Sorry, that's what they are. Fat fish. Fat fish. Fat fish who goes by they, them. It's still really hard not to check on you when you have a status like this. I'm sorry if this is unwelcome or inappropriate. I still worry about you. It feels stupid to say so, but please let me know if I can support you somehow. Where did the anglerfish go? It'll come back when one of them speaks, okay? My conflict with Zena and my conflict with you are completely separate in my eyes. The group chat seems to be causing some conflation between the two, and I'm still here to offer support if you'll have it. Just because we have conflicts in other areas doesn't mean I can't be here for you. Again, I apologize if this is out of line. I won't try to push my own idea of help on you anymore. You tell me how to best support you, and I'll approach it accordingly. Please, take care of yourself, love. Whatever happens, my door and heart are open to you always. Damn. I wish that people would regularly communicate this way with so much openness and so much honesty and so much feeling. I wish. I don't know how anybody could look at this. If I ever get in a relationship, I hope they are as good a communicator as Milena. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just everything I've read from Milena is just it's so heartfelt. It hurts, you know? Okay, this is her response. I don't think you crossed a line, and I do appreciate the care. I'm having a rough day for various reasons. I don't think you're pushing your ideas of help on me. My issue is that I don't really know what to do going forward. In the span of a single weekend, a conflict broke out with my fiance over their mental illness. You made a mention about mutually assured destruction and being manipulative as though it was an everyday thing in a conversation, and when I tried to talk to you about the situation, you suddenly were leaving town and created a ticking clock about a conversation involving a conflict that you were in and unintentionally revealed that you had broken my trust. Can I just say, this story has changed so much. Poppy is such a manipulative cunt. I tried to talk to you, saying I tried to talk to you and suddenly you're leaving. They are lying through their teeth. What the That is such a twist on the story. In the span of a single weekend, broke out with my fiance over their mental illness. You made a mention about mutually assured destruction and being manipulative, as though it was an everyday thing in conversation. And when I tried to talk to you about the situation, you were suddenly leaving town. No, that is not what happened. That is not what happened. Milena was trying to reach out to you and talk to you, and the two of you were unavailable. Poppy is like literally lying to make her, she's gaslighting her. What the is this? What the is this narrative? What is this? I am going to lose my mind. This is such a dishonest framing and quite frankly, just a lie about what happened. She was not trying to reach out to speak. Stardust, Penelope is lying. It's not Poppy's fault. Right, you're so true. You're so right. So true. Sociopaths frequently rewrite history like this. Okay, on top of looking like dirty people who don't shower very often, they are liars. They are manipulators. They are disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Okay, back to it. Sorry. I don't know how you can support me. I tried to have this conversation with you last time, and it led to nothing. I understand that from your perspective, this is just a mistake, an error in planning. From my perspective, it is a slap in the face to an issue that we had already talked about in the midst of a conflict that I am forced in the middle of. I understand that you have been busy and that you have been spending a lot of time with friends and family, and that some of them have been flaking on you. But it feels as though you were flaking on me before all this happened. One of the reasons I started pulling away was because I didn't really feel like I was getting a whole lot of interaction from you, and one of the major ways that we shared intimacy just stopped moving. I don't think a talk at some point would be good. I just need to figure out when. Oh wait, no, I do think, okay. I think a talk at some point would be good. I just need to figure out when. I'm still really upset. There are also other things outside this situation that concern me, but I don't know if they're important at the moment. You are welcome to reach out, and I will no longer put you on mute, but I'm not really sure what to do at this point. No, Poppy, you were flaking on Milena and you knew. Exactly! She is lying. What a lying liar. What a lying liar cunt who looks like a fish. Did I miss the interview? What interview? There's no interview. I'm doing this whenever one of them speaks. Whenever one of them speaks. That's what I'm doing. They're now covering my face, okay? So it doesn't look like both of us speaking or whatever. Do you guys prefer them over my face or do you prefer them by themselves on the side? Because I can change it back if you want. Didn't this whole thing start from Zena erasure? Basically. That was a joke, yo. When she said special guest, she meant these two. Exactly. Note the tone. I felt a desire to reconnect and a melancholy around where we were, a desire to fix things. Even with the continued misunderstandings, it gave me hope. Although it was a bit of a revelation to realize that she'd had me on mute this whole time. Didn't fix her ignoring what I'd said so many times or giving Zena a pass for how they treated me. But holy seriously? Zena's been the main star in this document. In a way, Zena should be pleased that they are getting the level of attention they've always wanted. Oh yeah. Well, over the face in most situations would be an improvement, but not in this case. JK, Stardust, I love you. Wow. Terrible. Milena didn't even want to involve Zena. So how was Poppy forced in the middle of this by Milena? I don't know. Didn't fix her ignoring what I'd said so many times or giving Zena a pass for how they treated me. But holy seriously? This is another wall of text, largely supplemental, but I promise full context. Some of it is really personal, so be it. I don't care. I explained the mutually assured destruction thing with my ex. I tried to disconnect. I apologize. I asked for reconnection. I hope. I understand, love. I want to address all of your points. I promise there are reasons for this, and that they're mostly not about you. I just really don't want to do it over text. It feels so dry and impersonal, and this is such a personal situation and topic. If I may address this data point specifically, I wanted to have the conversation sooner because I wanted to offer context for the mutually assured destruction comment. Remember when I told you about my ex who got drunk and told me how much of a piece of burden I am throughout 2020? The night you saw me drowning and still reached out. Okay, here it is. There's more that followed after, but this is already a lot. Mainly, she said she was interested in still being friends, established timelines for conversations and reconciliation, treated me like I was delusional, and she'd never said that when I brought them up when she said we'd talk, and culminated in her telling me that she wanted to indefinitely stop talking. We were going to be going to the same social events, so this sent me into a panic of abandonment and fear. I didn't know if she'd be mad if I talked to her or was in her general vicinity, or upset if I tried to keep my distance and take it as ignoring her. She told people that I got angry at her for trying to establish boundaries and posted on Facebook about it, saying that we'd drifted as partners over quarantine and both had difficulties, that we'd been more friends when she moved out, but she'd shown fear when I'd initially suggested that and pushed for me to still be open to dating afterwards, then literally dismissed the notion when I brought it up later, complete with a laughing emoji. I was cautious and super isolated and up about being accepted and loved after quarantine, so I kept to myself. That was 2 years ago. I still do. I came in during the raid and playing video. Is this the same Poppy as the Vosh creepy stuff? No, different person. The night you saw me drowning and still reached out, it still means the world to me that you didn't just leave me to wait it out. I didn't mention then that the only way I was able to get her to take down her post, calling me was to contact her partner privately and let them know that if she didn't take her post down, I'd make my own. They refused, so I made my own post. Not even a full one, just a warning shot that what she was saying was a gross distortion of the truth, and how terrified I was of even being in the same room as her. How if she didn't take down her post, I'd make my own. And that she knew she had a lot more to worry about people finding out about what she'd done to me than I did about my own offenses. That's when she took it down. I'm a pacifist for the most part, but when there's no trust left and my opposition is a vicious but has the gall to try to publicly darvo me to our 120 plus mutual friends after I've specifically pretended things were okay with us to protect her for months, I don't know. The mention in chat about trust with exes just brought a bitter laugh to my mind. Mutually assured destruction was all that saved me there. It's the longest, most painful relationship of my life. So it's the main one that comes to mind when we talk about exes. It was never meant to be about you or a threat. It genuinely had nothing to do with what we were going through. I've wanted to tell you for a while now, but this whole thing has gone so far off the rails, I didn't even know how to start returning to it. As for the broken agreement, I don't mean to be flippant about it. That's part of why I hate doing this over text. I can express that I'm sorry, but it's easy to read those words as hollow if you're feeling a certain way, no matter how I intend it to sound. When I say that it was a mistake and an error, my only intent is to express that it was unintentional and something I can fix. I don't mean to trivialize how it affected you. I don't know how to address the ripple effect of that over text. We've already had a couple of these conversations where there have been miscommunications and misunderstandings because we process problems differently. We come through those stronger and better, even if this situation is me breaking an agreement that came from one of those. I was kicking myself for it. I still am. The first time I didn't realize it would be a problem. This time, it was an honest slip of the mind in the midst of a lot going on. I want to listen to how you feel. I want to address it and make you feel seen. I want to take accountability and understand what I can do to regain the trust that was hit by it. Dude, I feel like any person and any person would appreciate a message this heartfelt, you know? Except for these crazy bitches, you know? I don't know what else to offer other than that. I'm sorry. I want to understand and I want to work on improving. I know the details are more complex than that, but that's the only framework I understand. If there's more you want or something else you think would be more effective, I want to listen to you about it. I don't mean to offer these things as placations, only explanations of thought expressions of intent. I have my own things to work on in regards to feeling isolated and pulling away. The whole Sage situation was really intense and jarring, but it didn't feel right to bring up my feelings with how directly everyone else was involved, including you. I didn't know how to process them, and I felt like trying to be more present in that moment would be shitty of me. But it seems like that inadvertently resulted in me pulling away. You've met her in person, Rutan? What were they like in person? And then once I had the fight with Zena, I don't know. I've expressed it before, so I don't want to frustrate you by repeating it, but it's all I can offer as an explanation. I was so intensely freaked out by it that I didn't know if that was the end of everything. With Zena, with you, with the foundation, you all pulled me out of one of the darkest mental health dips I've ever had. I felt safe and supported and like I could start recovering here. Suddenly, I was overwhelmed with the fear that it could all go away. This drama is giving me alters. Nice one, M. That's why I got so freaked out and wanted to talk as soon as possible. Every day was full of that terror, from beginning to end. I couldn't think. I could barely work. I would wake up and be in tears within a minute. I know self-regulation is something that helps. I'm aware of the tools, and I do use them. The problem is that any self-regulation I did that actually worked ended up fading very quickly. This was a fear that wasn't a trigger. It's deeper trauma that's harder to soothe. I know I don't need to explain any of that to you. I tried to tell you when we met. My shit go state, it's unresolved. You're the first time I've fallen in love in 4 years. And the first time since I started hormones. The first time since those partners. I'm going to fuck up. But I promise you that those aren't personal and they're not about you. I know they still affect you. What I'm trying to say is that they're not a reflection of how much you mean to me or how much work I'm willing to put into fixing them. I will need your help to understand sometimes. I've been really isolated for a long time now. I forgot how to people. I just need some faith and some help. I'll need some forgiveness and patience. I understand that you don't know what to do. Neither do I. But I don't think that's a reason for inaction. We can still interact. We can still try to talk about things. We can still keep the conversation level if we see that we're trying to cross this weird difference in communication. But the intent is there. The love is there. The willingness to try is there. All of this stuff in between can be figured out. I know it, and I want to keep trying. I firmly believe that this extended silence between us is doing more harm than good. I'll respect whatever you think is best for you, but I think we should try something. I even considered proposing that we maybe try working out some of the anger through an ERP scene of some kind. I want to try something instead of sitting around waiting for it to get easier. I don't think it will. This is what we've got. I'm ready to see what we can do with it. Oh, Rue on, and yes, she and Z were out at the club I've been a regular at for 20 years. It was 2019-ish. I introduced myself because I hadn't seen them there before. They were kind of bitchy / rude. Interesting. My question to you, Ruan, did they smell? Because they look like they don't shower regularly. I'm sorry to ask that. Holy fuck, this is ridiculously long. This is what women do, Nick, okay? This is what women do, especially anxious women. I don't think it will. This is what we got. I'm ready to see what we can do with it. And if it doesn't work out, at least we tried instead of fading apart. I'm just here when you're ready. Just please don't leave me in the silence if you don't need to. Ambiguity and stasis are my kryptonite. My demons run rampant in it. It doesn't have to be about the problem, even if it's us casually trying to talk about anything else. Getting back to that connection. If you're okay with it, I'd like to continue our ERP scene. I haven't pushed it because you've asked for space, but it felt like we were reconnecting for a couple of days there. I'd like to have that again. And I'm sorry this was so long. There's a lot to say. It's all been running through my head for weeks. Still, sorry. If it's all right, may I start sending you little messages of affection, maybe even hoping for the next boop? Just our normal light check-ins like we did before all of this? I don't think she read any of it. Over the next couple of days, I gently reach out a couple of times. The emoji, was today better, love? Sending migraine loves. Thinking of you. No answer. Technically, this is day 25. For now, put a pin in the fact that we were official for less than a month before this went down. Jesus Christ. Ruan's giving all the deets here. They live in a part of Michigan where the median household income is about $90K. And the low-end income of their city is $74K. Where I live, median household income is about $45K. Ruan also says last year Poppy once bragged on Twitter about how she spent a full $1,000 on commissioning furry porn alone. Jesus. Okay, anyways, back. For now, put a pin in the fact that we were official for less than a month before this went down. Yes, I know how crazy that makes all this look. For now, just look at the ask and response. She acknowledges how unfair it's been, agrees to talk. Love, we were dating for 24 days before the fight with Zena happened. It's been 24 days since then. I can't keep sitting around waiting. I need a timeline. I understand that this is difficult, but it's unfair to expect your partner to hold on for weeks of silence like this. I have my own emotional needs that I need to respect, and I haven't been. I never expected you to make me wait this long. I don't even know if you read what I wrote above. We can all discuss the situation with Zena, and we can all discuss the situation with Zena and I separately whenever, but you and I need to talk about our situation soon, please, not over text. That's why the last couple of attempts got lucky. It needs to be over VC. I'm asking you to please have some faith. We've been doing this for weeks and we're still like this. Can we please try my way? Come to the table respectfully with love as equals and just talk about this. Hear each other out. Please. In 1 month, a grand of furry porn in 1 month. That's crazy. Wait, Ruan, did you ever answer? Do they smell? Do they look like they're dirty in person? That's my question. And they had the audacity to get angry over a Geiger counter. Yeah, crazy. Imagine if Zena and Poppy didn't spend all their money on commission to furry porn. Yeah, and they could feed their kid instead of telling them to fend for themselves. Okay, let's see what Poppy says here. I know you can't keep waiting around, and I know a relationship can't continue like this. I just am not sure what to say at this point. We can try it out your way, but I'll need to figure out when. You say that I need to have some faith, but I don't, Milena. I haven't responded to the story because it feels inappropriate. I understand. The trust has been broken. I do hope that this conversation can help repair it. I also know that the longer we wait, the harder it will be. It's part of why this has been getting increasingly difficult. The longer I wait, the less hope I have. I can do up to 1 more week by next Sunday. Do you think you can make that work? For my own sake, is this something you still want to try to fix? Do you still feel anything for me? Now, I know this level of intensity after only a few weeks of dating seems kind of insane, but I need to emphasize that we were both coming out of emotionally intense situations and felt very seen by each other. We tried to take it slow, speaking almost every day. We started speaking in earnest in March, bonding through very private parts of ourselves that we didn't feel like we got to share very often. We were excited to get to know each other more. We helped each other navigate difficult nights with BPD and trauma. She adopted me as someone she wanted to get to know. Someone adopt me, please. I swear I'm hilarious and sweet and attentive. I just need a little companionship to heal from a more recent relationship. And then I'll be self-sufficient again and way more fun like I was before 2020. Let's see. Ruan says it was 2019 and they were on the smoking patio at the club. Everyone on the patio for more than just a couple of minutes at a time smells. I only wander onto the patio just to make the rounds, say hi. Oh, okay. No, not the adoption. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Then Poppy says, I will adopt you. I'm adopting this girl. She stepped up for me and publicly defended me twice against things that had hurt me in the trans Twitter space. Twice. She gave up a long-term friendship over me. Also, I might have just lost a friendship over that post. Oh well. Do not take any responsibility for that. I am the one that pushed back on her and called her out for gross behavior. Let me be clear. I protect my friends. You did not deserve this. If someone disagrees with me, they can get f***ed. Hey, hugs. Sorry if I went hard on this. I just don't like to see people I care about hurt. We are all in process. Sorry if I'm irritating you. No, not at all. I just stopped looking at my phone for a few as I ate lunch. I wish I'd seen these as you were sending them. I'm honestly touched. People don't really stand up for me, like, ever. Mark my words, Poppy's going to try an F patchwork? Maybe. So not all the Discord adoptees were perfect. Apparently not. But now they are. It meant a lot. We grew close fast through some rough times. I'm deeply traumatized, so it takes a lot to get through my walls properly. Poppy got through all of them. She made me feel safe and understood, and her, I think. We went through more in 3 months than many relationships do in a year, even before we dated. So before anyone uses that 24 days to trivialize our connection and make me seem crazy, know that they can go f themselves. I have over 11,000 messages we exchanged that say otherwise. I have the clips of us interacting on stream and her talking about me. I hate that I feel like I have to preemptively defend what we had like that. But this is leftist queer Twitter. This is fucking scary. Leftist queer Twitter is pretty wild. So again, I asked for some kind of timeline, at one last hesitant request for a reassurance. She responded the next day by telling me that she felt something for me, but that we weren't going to talk. We were through. Damn. Okay, let's see what Poppy has to say here. I still feel something for you, but at this point, I don't think we can make this work. I can see us being friends, and I do not want you to go anywhere. I care about you, but this isn't a fixed thing. This is a fundamental difference in how we interact with situations. You said above that you wanted to sit down with me and ZZ separately, but I am not the one who put these two situations together. You did when you distanced yourself from me over your fight with ZZ. I told you what I needed, and it was ignored. I am incredibly uncomfortable with your relationship with Athena, not because of her behavior, but because of the way yours changes when she comes around. There's probably more to say, but I'm fighting off a migraine and ideations. I want to be clear that I still care, and I want you in the community. I just might need distance for a while. I am not sure what to do with our story, so I'm just going to archive it for now. Maybe we can come back to it. I love Marguerite and Kasserine. I would hate for their story to end. Deep Sea Monster says, it seems like Zena is just as possessive and jealous of Poppy as well. They're made for one another. Just wish they'd off under a rock alone. Yeah. I love that Milena then exposed all this. Yeah, same. Leftist queer Twitter, what a nightmare. Well, it's pretty intense, I will say. They are more toxic than any other space on Twitter that I've seen. Imagine naming your kid or yourself Kasserine. I don't know, that sounds like casserole. Shut up! I'm not trying to... I already called them dorks for doing ERP, okay? I'm not trying to hate on them too hard. I'm not trying to hate at least on Milena too hard, because she did communicate really well here, and I have to give her props, because I think anybody would love messages like that, especially when they're hurting, you know? So nobody's going to convince me that Zena isn't responsible for this push away from resolution. Compare the difference in tone from the previous message. I don't like how me trying to resolve our separate conflicts with separate conversations is reframed as impossible because of my own perceived transgression. Especially telling is the I didn't do this, you did approach. And again, I didn't distance myself from her. I was scared. But my feelings and reasons for my reactions haven't mattered up to this point. Why would they start mattering now? I didn't ignore what she needed. At worst, I didn't understand it. That shows in my messages, right? And again, I don't understand what she means about Athena. I was having a hard time with so much, and it seems like she just attributed it to Athena. I wouldn't be surprised if that included how Zena's was affecting me. It's so absurd. She makes it clear that she still cares and wants me in the community. I appreciated that, but I was still irritated, feeling betrayed and frustrated. It soon turned to overwhelming sadness. I tried so hard to do what they wanted, and it felt like they didn't try at all. Sounds familiar. Then came Zena's response, full of the same condescension, projection, and dismissal as ever. But somehow worse now that it was calm. It was long enough for Discord to convert to text, which is why it looks different. Oh, have a good one, Ruan. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. There isn't an easy fix for the situation. Oh, wait. I need to do the Zena thing. There isn't an easy fix for the situation. Begging to talk isn't helping anything. Since the beginning, I don't think we've ever heard you own your part in the initial fight. If you're not willing to own that, then you were also an active part in that situation. I don't know what else to say to you. As far as PMDD goes, you weren't a support for that before all this started. It's like watching you trying to romance a character, which requires 8 stars, and you only having 3 stars with me. On top of that, you were in a relationship with Poppy, not me. There's no good reason that you should be on an intimate support person. There's no good reason that you should be an intimate support person for me. Blaming all of it on Zena's coping a little. The Athena thing mirrors the Noe Flake stuff. Yeah, I would say so. Though I will say Zena's... Okay. It wouldn't be ethical of me to have you as a close support anyway. From all of this, my observation is that you deal with triggers that are triggered by other people's emotional reactions. You're doing EMDR multiple times a week, which is already an incredibly difficult form of therapy and is going to put you under a lot of emotional stress. In addition, I can't stress enough that you were dating Poppy, and PMDD tends to get triggered around things/people in my home life, including Poppy. It wouldn't be ethical of me to put you in a position where you're trying to manage a relationship with Poppy while also hearing about whatever extremely angry and hurt statements from me that you would have no way to know how serious they are. You could also be in a situation where Poppy and I are having very extreme reactions to each other that could look downright toxic if one didn't already know what was going on. We do have a tendency to trigger each other's flashbacks during PMDD, and that is something that Poppy and I deal with in our relationship with each other. Adding yet another person's trauma that is freshly being worked on is absolutely bad idea. Just to be clear, I offered Poppy other options for your visit right after the initial fight happened. I told her I wasn't comfortable with you being at the house when I could have PMDD starting, and I offered some other options for you to still stay in the area in the same conversation. From there, Poppy made her own decisions based on how things were with you and her. I really wish that you would have accepted my no in the first place. I'm not even that judgy about you. I think you're a good friend, and there's a lot of fun qualities about you. General friendship is all I want, though. I'm not looking for you to be part of the intimate part of day-to-day life for me. I'm not ready for that with anyone new in general. I do think that there is a lot of knowledge that I've heard you talk about and have a verbal understanding of, but I don't observe that knowledge being used in practice. My biggest suggestion to you is to seek out formal training for things like peer mediation. Your intervention honestly made the situation worse and twisted up even more tense emotions and framed Blank so poorly, and her posts didn't need your explanations of autism. In reality, Blank handled the conversation with Poppy and I and the other content creators with flying colors, and her being autistic didn't actually matter at all. I really didn't feel like writing more because I'm tired, but I'm going to forward. You need to be careful about who you vent to. It's important that you catch yourself before you've started venting. This goes for anyone in the server, doesn't matter what level, or sub to the channel, or on Twitter even. There are people waiting in the wings to hurt Poppy, and they will use any vulnerability that they can, and they won't give a about you either. This is just a safety thing. If you need an intervention involving something on the server or related to Poppy and I, there are a few mods that would be available to intervene. We already have a policy about avoiding conflict of interest as much as possible and not moderating for situations that you're personally part of. Other than this, you're welcome to continue being on the server, and you're always free to be in voice calls. Oh my god. Okay, this is exhausting. I'm dying. Zena wrote out the Bible here. It's so long, yeah. Why does everyone else have to read every novel Zena and Poppy write? But Poppy couldn't be bothered to read that one long message that she didn't ask for. Yeah, I don't know. It's stupid. It's really stupid. Surprise, Zena, you and Poppy did this all to yourselves. Eat what you so bitch. True. They're rewriting history as always. Yeah, they are. Zena is quite well fed thanks to all the time they spend alone in the kitchen. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. Again, accusations of begging. I didn't own my part in the initial fight because I didn't want to discuss it over text, which is being turned into my willingness to do so. Then basically dismissing my attempts to learn what to do in regards to their PMDD as a skills issues. This is dense. Honestly, I'll leave most of it up to you because yikes. But I do like the definition of my triggers. Galaxy brain take from the Galaxy Bunny there. Rough. Yeah, from all this, my observation is that you deal with triggers that are triggered by other people's emotional reactions. They've decided about my EMDR sessions once a week at the time. They decide what's best for me, etc. Ooh, wasn't that something Zena had a problem with Milena for? You can't make decisions for me with my PMDD. Wow. Maybe Zena and Poppy should have been more hesitant at putting things into text. True, Sashi. So true, because that ended up them, didn't it? So, I So was I assumed to just not take these statements seriously without warning before this conflict? Was I going to be allowed to visit and just be expected to roll with it, just knowing not to take them seriously? That's insane. Funny thing is, I later asked Hila about this. She confirmed that this is exactly what happened when she visited. That's insane. Never mind this wild dynamic being highlighted. To be clear, I offered Poppy other options for your visit right after the initial fight happened. Poppy made her own decisions. Remember when Poppy told me back on day 20 to cancel my trip because Zena felt unsafe with the idea of me visiting? Interesting. I can't assume one way or the other, but this reframing is interesting. The whole not my fault tone of this is bold, all things considered. But this, I really wish that you would have accepted my no in the first place. This f***s me up. This further reframes my actions as a violation of consent. Go back through everything. At any point before the previous message they sent, did Zena express no at any point? They were mad about me not knowing enough. They didn't tell me to stop. True! Killing them, Milena. What a queen. If only they did the VC like Milena requested, yeah. Believe this drama's still going. It's juicy. M60, it's juicy. We can't stop. Guys, if you like the content, please consider subscribing, super chatting, becoming a member. It helps boost me in the algorithm. It also helps me continue to make content for you all. Out of context, this is reasonable. In context, this is wild. We were actively getting closer before all this and expressing mutual interest in continuing to do so. We spent time together in VCs almost every day. They expressed missing me when I wasn't around. I hope Zena and Poppy are writhing. I hope so too. This part is also wild, not only in the irony, but in the rewriting of events. This is about the editor. All I said was that it seemed like an unintentional misunderstanding and that they just needed a conversation to establish preferences moving forwards. Yeah, no, Milena didn't say anything mean about the editor. So what they're essentially saying is that I made the situation so much worse, but when they literally did exactly what I recommended, everything worked out. I just sigh. They then tell me that I'm not allowed to talk about this to anyone who is 1 on the server, 2 subscribe to the channel, 3 on Twitter. Then they say talk to their mods if I have any problems with them moving forward because they already have a policy around that. Cool. And I'm always welcome to stay on the server, where I'll see people who have treated me like this being celebrated and adored everywhere. Their faces and branding still deny my voice. I'm welcome to be in calls where they'll be flirting with their other partners. So I parted with this message and a 35-minute voice recording. Knowing they probably wouldn't listen to it, I wrote these parts out. Okay. Please understand, I'm not begging when I say please here. I'm attempting to gently, politely urge you. Since you set the expectation of a conversation about this for weeks, please at least do me the courtesy of listening to this message. If we can't talk to each other, at least let me address most of the content of these messages with my voice. Give me at least the first 10 minutes. A couple of main points that are covered in the message, but I want to say here just in case. Rogue Girl has not been put on hold. Rogue Girl has not been put on hold. It's not been on hold. I'm still working on the video. Anyways, sorry. The things I didn't address were never because I was ignoring them. It's because you kept setting the expectation that we would talk soon. And that's where I wanted to address them, not over text. Remember that aside from any general data about the benefits of voice versus text, the previous conflicts that Poppy and I have had, which kept getting worse over text, were resolved when we were able to have a voice call, and with Zena moderating. Zena, remember the last time when you and Poppy even acknowledged that I did a good job of being sensitive to your feelings while still advocating for myself? That's all I wanted because I knew it worked before. I knew it could work again. A lot of this message is also for you, Zena. But most of all, I want to be clear about one thing. I never understood what you were saying to me as no. I understood it as you don't know everything about PMD. If I'd known you were telling me to stop, I would have immediately. I thought you were mad that I wasn't doing the work to understand. We'd been getting close. You expressed interest in growing closer, potentially even becoming partners at some point. I didn't think you'd want me to see something you're struggling with and completely drop it. I thought you'd want me to understand how to respect it and you better. None of what you said came across to me as you wanting me to back off. I'm sorry I misunderstood and made you feel pressured. I see how upsetting that would have been. I hope you can also see now why I took the approach that I did. I hope you can see the message I sent you directly after our break makes more sense in this light. Please look back through the messages. I hope you'll see what I'm saying. I recorded this the night of, still hoping for a conversation. I still think it would help a lot because much of what you're saying about my intent and perspective is inaccurate. But if you're not looking for any clarification on that, I won't try to push for it anymore. For my own sake, I can't be on the server or the chat rooms until I know that you're both comfortable with me again. Poppy, you said you need some distance. Please re-add me when there's been enough of that. I hope that we can talk then, at least to establish clear boundaries and expectations for wherever our connection sits at that point. I don't want to assume too little or too much. I recorded this the night of, still hoping for a conversation. I still think it would help a lot because much of what you're saying about my intent and perspective is inaccurate. But if you're not looking for my clarification on that, I won't try to push for it anymore. For my own sake, I can't be on the server or the chat rooms until I know that you're both comfortable with— oh, right, okay. We already read that. And while all of this, honestly, it's been excruciating and it breaks my heart, but it was like a speed run of the shit that was bound to come up in my first time falling in love after my prior. I've grown through it and regained something I needed in a relatively short span of time and recognized additional work to be done. I just wish we could have done it together. I wish you could have given me the chance to show you how I would have handled this after the initial spiral. I wish it hadn't cost me this. Tell Penny I'm grateful for her help and support along the way. Give Bun my love. I love you all. I'm not happy, but I'm accepting. Note this part in particular. I specifically mentioned needing space, just as Poppy requested. I asked them to re-add me when they've had enough space. I asked for a conversation to make sure we're clear on boundaries and expectations when we reconnect. Then, I leave the server. That screenshot was taken at 10:26 PST on June 27th. I almost forgot. I should mention that in the days before this, I had posted in their personal support server on their more exclusive Keter section about feeling unwanted and nobody really noticing or caring if I just faded away. I was in crisis, feeling like I didn't matter. Zena would apparently later frame this as manipulation, including when I used the bot on their server the next day to look up suicide prevention hotlines. I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone. I was losing it. I needed help. Didn't matter. I left, and even that was used against me. Damn, and there's more. Okay. Day 28 and 29, Zena salts the earth. Keep in mind, I said that I was leaving temporarily and that I was open to their terms. The night that I left the server, Zena immediately went to work and told people in the Keter personal support channel their version of events. These screenshots were provided to me, unprompted, by a concerned friend. I'm including them to show how this was framed, the people I thought I'd be talking to again. I have their permission to share them. I've edited out the timestamps to protect the location of the friend, but this first message was sent at 5:31, literally a few minutes later. If you're just now joining the story, please catch up on context in the pinned master thread. This part will make no sense without it. Zena literally condenses everything into a wildly inaccurate and uncharitable version that paints me as some unhinged crazy person. How can they be one-on-one with one party that refuses to engage civilly? I don't know. It's sad. Very sad. Okay, here's Zena, okay? FYI, Poppy broke up with Milena and made it clear that she could still be on the server, and being friends after a time was okay. Milena left the server of her own accord tonight. Please don't engage with her on anything channel related or Poppy and I related. At this point, this is just a safety thing for Poppy and I. Her behavior as far as respecting boundaries has not been great. Specific examples are venting to our other partner and trying to solve conflicts that she wasn't part of or asked to assist with. You guys definitely asked her, but okay. Putting this here too, sigh. I can't say that I'm happy with her behavior. Personal time. This shit really with Poppy and I. I really wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I get that Poppy and I are not the easiest partners to start a relationship with, but neither of us try to cut someone off from other people. I honestly thought that Milena made a good friend and noticed that she was a good friend when she was around and talking to others, and it seemed like she was a good community member from what I saw. It just really, really sucks. I hate when breakups happen and every interaction the person has gets soured. Oh no, you were the victim. You don't have to feed your child. So true. So true. I left the server of my own accord. No context on why or that it was meant to be temporary. I immediately telling people to not speak to me, framing me as a safety risk. You now have the context to understand how off-base this description is. The framing of them as the victims. Damn. Damn. Milena is so good at writing this out. Now that you've have these screenshots to see what went down, I hope that it's clear how this is. I really tried to save things in a healthy, loving way, standing up for myself where I could, up a couple of times, but not in ways that weren't understandable or fixable. This is how you get yourself blocked. Why does it sound like she's only doing this now? I don't want to assume the worst. I'm just really questioning things. What was the status? I left the server for my well-being and to give Poppy the space she asked for, saying to re-add me when she's ready. This still baffles me. The status I left was non-judgmental. I didn't assign the blame to anyone, and still feels like a perfectly reasonable statement. I wrote it in case anyone checked to see what had happened to me. I don't see how people accepted this as toxic or manipulative. Because unseen here is the back and forth that with Milena that lines up with this. Her initial message happened. Following that, Poppy sent her own message and I sent my own as well. There were separate issues going on. Poppy's was about breakup. Mine was about a previous incident that happened during PMDD a few weeks ago, and I addressed a few things and told her that I didn't want her help with PMDD. I just wanted her as a regular friend. I further explained more reasons that I don't want her as a support or around for PMDD. At the very least, she's completely inappropriate for my metamor to be my confidant. Then the crisis line posts happen. Wildly reductive and manipulative description of events. So true. Also, it's not inappropriate for your metamor to be your confidant. It's bad to talk about your mutual partners, but plenty of metamors are close and trusted friends. Zena and Poppy are just really bad at polyamory. Also, the crisis line posts were in the more private personal support channel of their mental health focused server because I was having a crisis that they caused. But to Zena, no suffering is real if they're the cause. It's manipulation or someone else's problem. Okay. Zena again. The PMDD thing didn't get resolved because it was like 3 weeks ago and she said some real toxic stuff and set up a ticking clock trope to force the conversation to happen sooner over voice, despite making it known that she is incredibly sensitive to tone, which is not something that I can control during PMDD. And as she was telling us that last minute, that we needed to have the conversation before she left to see her other partner for a week, it was of course revealed that she didn't keep her agreement to give Poppy a heads up that she was going to be unavailable for a week. And I found out during this time that she was avoiding Poppy too, despite there not being an issue between her and Poppy. So yeah, she set up some real toxic stuff, set up a ticking clock trope, forced the conversation, incredibly sensitive to tone, not something I can control last minute, didn't keep her agreement, avoiding Poppy. Yeah. She sent a message days before leaving though. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's really amazing how much they can pack into one paragraph, isn't it? Okay, let's see what else Zena has to say here. Also, I didn't even include Milena. Oh, sorry. Also, I didn't even include Milena having this whole conversation on voice with a bunch of people about mutually assured destruction is how she does trust. It was really bizarre. She was trying to say that she keeps enough secrets and information with people that if either of them do anything, there's mutually assured destruction. This was right after the incident when PMDD started. What? Bruh, that's a really ugly and paranoid way to do relationships. It's like waiting to massively escalate the situation at the first sign of trouble. Damn, people just eat it up. The infamous MAD allegation. It's rich to see Zena talking about how people do trust at this stage. And yes, it would be a really ugly and paranoid way to do relationships. Good thing that's not how I do them. She tried to butt in a thing that Poppy and I were venting about. Butt in? You asked for her opinion! You asked for her opinion! Oh my god. Okay. She tried to do a thing that Poppy and I were venting about. She tried to butt into a thing that Poppy and I were venting about. Turns out that PMDD also started during that. I got loud and more firm, especially because she didn't listen to me, saying that I didn't want the help she was attempting to do, and this happened several times. Needless to say, she also triggered, as best as I can tell, and didn't believe me about the PMDD for a good week or two when we didn't give in to the ticking clock meme. Mutually assured destruction convo was right after that initial incident. I didn't want to do a voice convo while PMDD was still going on. That's like a recipe for disaster. And the wildfire smoke was with us real hard during PMDD too. I didn't try to butt in. They literally asked for my opinion, and I asked what kind of support they wanted. They changed their minds when I didn't immediately agree with them. Note how Zena frames their temper as more loud and firm. No, Zena, you were shouting. Also, as soon as anyone tells me they don't want the help I'm offering, I stop offering it. This rewrites what happened into me not listening to boundaries or consent. It's vile. It absolutely is. It didn't happen several times. They never told me no. All the receipts are here. I think there are more, but they weren't provided to me. I don't really need them. I was in their inner circle. I know what conversations happen after things like this every night. How deeply trusted people get exiled and rewritten to be monsters when they're not. How is Zena always in PMDD? Is it a constant condition? I thought it was more more extreme PMS. Basically. Weeks 5 to 7 aftermath. Supplemental screenshot here, but again, full context. Looks like we did try to warn each other. Sad smile. I can't stop being in love with you. You got past all the walls. You were the first person I felt safe enough with to let me. If you ever want me back, I won't say no. Goodbye for now, my love. I did message Poppy a couple of times afterwards because I thought there was still some chance to talk. Pardon the melodrama. Yes, I'm a sentimental bitch. Sue me. Sorry. What happens when the needle drops the other way? I know, but I am. Splitting is a thing. In what sense? Like if I suddenly see you as an evil manipulative mastermind? Right now, you are idealizing me. I am most likely doing the same to you. BPD as characters by splitting. Devaluation is the other extreme. Well, here's another piece of information about me that I wouldn't tell you if I didn't trust you. It takes a lot to get to that point. Like a lot. Insanely a lot. My 11-year partner, the one who drunkenly me for a year, straight in this little COVID prison, I was still devastated when she moved out. I still gave her the benefit of the doubt and worked to respect her boundaries, even with no communication, and her once again ignoring our agreements and gaslighting me from afar. That scares me a little. Like I could up bad and you would just take it. I do something similar. No, you don't. No, you don't, Poppy. Shut the fuck up. Milena, that was called foreshadowing. No. Hark, I have returned. Welcome, Testy. Welcome back. The blacked out bit is my new middle name. That's reserved for a select few. She was the first person I felt safe using it with. Also, I've included the screenshot I'd sent. She knows she does this, but not enough to recognize it in the moment and stop it. We could have been okay. The next day, I had a full-blown mental breakdown in front of my HR rep. I have a lot of responsibility at my job. It was self-review time with the new management, and I was non-functional. I couldn't focus on the words in front of me or connect thoughts, much less manage projects. What's the lie that you need made up, M60? Can I ask for some help with a lie I need to make up? What kind of... I sent my dad a text that said, "Can you leave me out a half?" And I meant to text my weed dealer. Do you live with anybody? M60, you could try to say that, yeah, you could try to say that if you have a roommate or something, like you could be like sandwiches or something. Yeah, just be like, I meant to text my roommate, "Can you leave me out half a sandwich?" Or "Can you leave me out half of like a cookie or something, or half of a box of cookies, you know? Can you leave me out a half?" Yeah. Tell him you meant half a pound of beef from the freezer. That's a good one too. Yeah. I don't know how many pounds of people. Pizza, true. You could do pizza as well. Just half. Okay. Or say you're going to someone's house or something and want half of whatever. Honestly, honesty is the best policy. Just be like, "Sorry, father, that was for my drug dealer." Oh my god. Boss, it says, double down and insist he would hook you up if he loved you. Damn. That's a good one. Dad, you know exactly what the I'm talking about. You know exactly what the I'm talking about. Leave me out half. I know you have it. You know what it is. Okay. Okay. Poppy, I need to be heard. I can only imagine the things being said about me. It's essential that you hear my side of things. I left the server expecting to be re-added when things are more stable. It wasn't a good place for me to be until then. I feel like I won't be re-added. I feel like you're never going to reach back out. I'm hurting because I feel like I was silenced, cut off, managed, and discarded. Like you didn't even want to try to fix us. You say in your own BPD thread that you recognize the existential fear of this, the abject terror. I was there for weeks, and it felt like you didn't care. And then you made me think we would finally talk, only to pull the plug the next day. You said before that abandoning people is ontologically wrong to you. You recognized that devaluation was a possibility. I'm asking you to recognize that in the context of what's happening, please do me the decency of giving me this so I can let go. For me to have closure, I need you to hear me. Zena's been operating off of this assumed negative perception of me for weeks. It's always clear when you've spoken to them between messages because you're less open to hearing me out. I don't want to come between you. I just need to be heard. I'll leave you alone, but I can't wrap this up without your help. I just need this one last thing. Please help me let this go. T413 says, the way Milena speaks in these docs versus her more recent Tumblr posts are night and day. Now I can see why. Jesus Christ, poor girl. Yeah, no, I have to give her props because she really knows how to write, you know? I was given permission for a 2-week mental health leave. At home, I had intensely isolated during this whole ordeal. The exile and rejection had hit me hard. I asked Poppy for some kind of closure I needed. No answer. I couldn't sleep. Exhausted, I would lay there for hours, my head buzzing with a storm of thoughts and memories that I couldn't silence. I would sleep for 2 to 4 hours most nights. When I did sleep, I would consistently have anxiety nightmares. The one I remember the most vividly involved literally being thrown from a spaceship by people I thought were friends, watching them happily turn away, laughing as I hurtled into the void. Damn, she had a Among Us stream. She had a Among Us stream. Imagine, yeah, that you have anxiety nightmares, and one of the most vivid ones is straight up Among Us. They think you're sussy. They think you're sus, so they open the airlock. They throw you out. God damn. They literally did it. She had the Among Us dream. She was sus in the dream. They threw her away. Damn, that sucks. I eventually swung my momentum back around, eventually overtaking the ship, only to fruitlessly slam myself against its windows and hatches, desperately trying to find a way back in. Everyone inside ignored me and continued to having a good time. My dreams are not subtle. When I woke up, it would be to a severely elevated heart rate, mid-panic attack already. My body flooded with terror that I would try to breathe and regulate my way through for what would sometimes take over an hour. July has been an endless nightmare of anxiety. And when I say anxiety, those unfamiliar with it need to understand that it most accurately translates to terror. Yeah, I get that. The kind of feeling that courses through your veins when you think you're about to die. I started having anxiety attacks multiple times a day. I would just be minding my business and suddenly I was terrified. I tried to self-regulate. I drank herbal teas. They only did so much. People reached out to me to see where I went. I shared my stories with them if they wanted to hear. I'm pretty sure I never initiated contact with anyone. Zena will say otherwise. It's up to you who to believe. On July 12th, I sent one last message to Poppy. This was it. I'm still open to a conversation if you're ever interested in hearing me out. I promise it'll help, and it wouldn't hurt to try. I was slowly accepting what had happened, but it still hurt like hell. I was still intensely re-traumatized in a way that dug up all kinds of old pain. Things that Poppy had convinced me I was safe from with her. Day 47. On July 16th, I was finally able to have a constructive, healing night that finally helped. I woke up the next day feeling good. I happily interacted with friends and Discord servers. That night, someone messaged me. They're talking about you on stream. I was on a call with Hila. She got to see this break me live. It just went tumbling right back down. Anxiety flooded my body again, crying so hard that I could barely speak. Wailing. I didn't do anything. I tried to do everything they wanted. Why won't they stop? You might ask why I still paid attention to their stuff. Thing is, I didn't. It was all brought to me. I can't look at their faces. I can't listen to their voices. So for my own health, I still haven't watched the stream. I know the content through other people's notes. That's so sad. Okay, chat. We are in day 49. If you want me to finish this document, I'm gonna need to see, or I would prefer, it's not a requirement, but I would prefer to see some subs, some super chats. memberships, anything, monetary support, okay? I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. But it's not a requirement. So I'm going to pretend it's a requirement, though, and I'm going to demand it. I'm demanding to see some money here, okay? If you want this to continue. Also, like the YouTube stream. Very true. Would you settle for some... What? Wolf, would you settle for some oily feet pics? No, no thank you. Please don't. I don't want to see that. I'm waiting. Please, I love you. I'll love you forever if you give me money. We have 70 likes. I'm so happy. Thank you, guys. I will love you if you subscribe. Oh, by the way, Pause, thank you for the resubscribe on Kick. Very much appreciated. I'm caught on a feeling. I just can't believe that you won't sub to me. I can't stop this feeling, chat. When you don't give me money, I feel like I'm unappreciated by you. Do 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 do. Okay, thank you for the $2, Outsanity. Yes, also share the stream. I appreciate it. And subscribe. And subscribe. Nicholas, how much a piece of do you have to be to make the horse coomer uncomfortable? True. True. Bosch apparently looked visibly uncomfortable wishing Poppy and Zena a happy birthday or whatever. Thank you so much for the $10, Nick. Very much appreciate it. Taxing harder than the government. Damn. Sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay. All right. Let's continue with this. Okay. Let's continue with this stuff. Day 49. I sent this to Poppy on Twitter. I was so appalled that they'd stoop this far. You would seriously rather use your platform to talk about me on your stream than finally clear things up in a direct conversation. Do you not see how messed up that is? You've been so wrong about this, and Zena more so, and all I've wanted is a chance to explain my side. This has been hitting me so hard that I've taken a mental health leave from my work that I had to extend. I have several anxiety attacks a day. I can't sleep. And when I do, it's maybe 5 hours if I'm lucky. I can barely eat. I've lost 20 pounds. I trusted you. You made me believe that you weren't this kind of person. I was in such a delicate, raw state, and you convinced me that I could trust you with it. They're a channel with 9K subscribers. They've been shouted out by Brianna Wu, Keffels, and Vosh. Oh, Brianna Wu does not like them. I will say that. Brianna Wu does not like them. Poppy's entitlement knows no bounds. True. I'm a normal person. It's insane that they don't even see how up this is. She posted the tweet in this screenshot instead of responding. Poppy. That moment when two exes are bitching on social media, thinking you were talking about them on stream despite going out of your way to clearly keep the exes anonymity. One called me paranoid and claimed I slandered them. The other called it PS despite it not being about them. She is living the frat bro archetype. Nice tits. Don't like that? You're a bitch. Yeah, basically. I responded with this. I've wanted to have a conversation to clear all of this up and make peace since it began. But every need and request I had was invalidated and turned against me, no matter how I tried to be fair. Either stop bringing it up or talk to me. You don't even see the power imbalance here? The saddest part is how wrong you are and how easy it would be to figure out why things went the way that they did. But instead, you take this route. I believed you when you brushed off accusations of as trans misogyny. And then you do things like this with a straight face. I called her out with these. Deleted because she realized that this isn't the best look for a streamer with almost 9K subs who's been retweeted and shouted out by Keffels and Vosh. To handle her conflicts with exes? Maybe. But this is a great example of the problems with how she's handled it so far anyway. I know a lot of people don't think doing this on Twitter is a good look anyway, but I've been invalidated, gaslit, and silenced for almost 7 weeks now. I'd almost left this behind, and then they spread their about me on stream rather than clear it up with me. I don't have any power here, so I'm going to use what little voice I have to finally speak up for myself. I wanted peace. I wanted to talk. I wanted space to heal. Then got that turned on me. Then I wanted to move on. I don't want it to come to this, but I've had enough. Supplemental. For full context, I sent her these messages even after that. But she'd rather ignore me and the harm she's caused using their platform to spread their twisted and uncharitable version instead. Just hear me out over voice. Grant me this one thing, this one kindness, please. I just wanted to set the record straight so we could walk away amicably. Your dedication to the path you're on and being absolutely certain that you're not wrong in any way is, honestly, more than anything, it's painful to see. We don't have to do this. We can still just have a peaceful conversation like you told me we would. Please, let it just be that. You've had the power to stop this whole time, just by doing what you said you would. You still have that power. This is all coming from pain for both of us. We can still address that. Make room for it. Acknowledge it. Put it to rest. Please. Can we try it my way? Like you said we would? The next day, they went one step further and posted that part of their stream as an actual video. So be it. I tried to make my own video, but as you can see, this is a lot. The video would have been hours long. Nobody would watch it. So I posted my initial thread. That night, I slept for 18 hours. Since then, there's been a lot of talk about boundaries across the discourse, and I promised earlier that if I ever told my side of the story, I'd give full context. So this is it. Full context. Almost done. Conclusions. So, now that we're caught up, I wanted to say some things about how I feel about Zena and Poppy as community members and leaders. Don't read this without first reading the rest of the pinned thread. What's the rest of the pinned thread? This isn't some vindictive rant. These are genuine, measured concerns that I've thought deeply about. 1. First and foremost, I do not want to denigrate their abilities within their professional lives. None of this diminishes the good that they've done, the people they help. So thank you for becoming a supporter. Star amplifying the voice of the powerless. Yeah, I'm hoping I can ask this Milena person a few questions, because I know that they're right now not very trusting of a lot of people. So I've reached out to them on Twitter, and I think they're still deciding whether they want to talk to me, which is fine. I get it. After a whole bunch of this stuff, like, I can understand why. 2, I still think their content is valuable because Poppy is able to engage with it through a properly professional perspective. Their puritanical progressive list is a potentially invaluable tool to heal the community. It's why I first reached out to Poppy. What is their puritanical progressive list? At the same time, they're guilty of the same fascinating problem that FD was in his drama video. Oh, FD signifier? They make fantastically salient points that are important to consider while simultaneously being guilty of the very criticisms they're making. Clockwork Orange says, howdy howdy, I was told that I might find you interesting. Welcome. Deep Sea Monster says it's very debatable that they've ever helped anyone. Their videos are too. Jesus Christ. I would have treated this with some charity, except that document about Spawn came out, and that really changed things for me. They've been getting increasingly petty and mean, sometimes getting completely sidetracked from their main points just to essentially be bullies. They're better than that. As community leaders, they need to be better than that. 3, it's deeply concerning how they blur the lines between fans, volunteers, intimate friends, and partners. When the shit hits the fan, they default to their positions of authority and take control in a sometimes tyrannical fashion. You can see it even in their messages to me. You're not a mod. You're not a content creator. We have training. You're treated as an equal until it doesn't suit them. It's not healthy. Even worse, they don't seem to recognize how deeply unethical it is to act the way that they do with the power that they have. They're going to keep growing, as is their community. They have the momentum. If they don't change, this is going to explode in their faces. Both Zena and Poppy excuse their behaviors because they're rooted in legitimate conditions and trauma. Somehow miss the part where it's their responsibility to keep those behaviors under control, not to harm others. I've shown you how they handled that with a loved partner. Zena is quick to anger and says it's PMDD, but that follows cycles, even if it's irregular. Yeah. Zena is like this all the time. Multiple people have reached out to me over the past month about how unsafe they or a friend have felt on the server. Poppy is hypersexual, deeply jealous and insecure, feeling entitled to impose controlling double standards on partners while doing whatever she wants. You can't have it both ways. She's also combative and quick to fight, especially online, sensitive and easily baited. Good to know. These two, as a couple, reinforce and protect each other's worst behaviors and habits, preaching empathy and patience and forgiveness while offering none to anyone who's in personal conflict with them. They've ruined minds and lives with their approach to personal conflict. Which brings me to 4. The disclaimer on the front of their videos doesn't mean if they're not also careful with how they flex their credentials. They're positioning themselves as figures of authority on mental health in a space full of psychologically vulnerable people. True. And they're hypersexual with these people too. Their content is one thing, but their own community is another. They hold huge sway over people's lives, especially people who come to them as a safe haven, looking for support. They still offer advice to community members in an unofficial capacity. I think it's pretty clear from what I've shared here that they need to be better about that responsibility. They tout themselves as experts with neither of them is familiar with DBT as a toolkit, which is wild considering Poppy's background is mindfulness and Zen. DBT is my primary toolkit. I've taken 2 lengthy courses on it. I have a DBT specialized therapist. It's what allowed me to engage with the situation as evenly as I did, as much as I did, for as long as I did, even with how much it was harming me. It's the best toolkit for BPD. Whatever toolkit they're working with, it sure as hell didn't do anything to help them recognize their symptoms, approach the situation rationally, or regulate their responses. No conflict resolution or mitigating their paranoia. They just strung me along until they could let go. Jenny! Jenny, thank you for gifting 5 Stardust memberships. I appreciate you so much. What a based queen. Thank you. I love you. Chat, be more like Jenny, okay? She's a based queen. They just strung me along until they could let me go. Believe it or not, even after all of this, I still care about them, especially Poppy. I've seen the good people they want to be. I see the good they do. I see the potential. I don't want to hurt them. I want them to be better, to be what I know they can be. But they're acting unethically and irresponsibly. They're hurting people. They need to recognize their issues and take accountability before it's too late, before it destroys everything they've worked for. More importantly, before it kills someone. It already almost has. Arctic says, yes, this is what I've been saying, Star. The way Poppy talks about BPD is nothing like what I've learned through DBT. Glad this girl has gotten help and sees the BS behind Poppy. Yeah, I agree. I know that what I've done here has burned the bridge irrevocably, but at this point, there is no bridge to burn. I don't expect them to read this. I don't expect this to be the thing that makes them understand, but I hope others see it and push them in the right direction. And one day, if that means I finally get an apology, it would mean a lot to me. I don't expect it, but it would mean a lot. For now, I've said what I need to say, and I hope the people who were told that I'm insane take the time to see that I'm not. Thanks for reading. A note to Poppy. And Poppy, if you somehow actually read all of this, I wanted to do this in private. I tried. I really tried. But I still mean what I said. My door is always open to you. I wish you the best. Damn. I can see talking smack in private, but the way she speaks in all these screenshots makes me truly doubt she's a good therapist, regardless of study. Yeah, I agree with you, Kay. Christopher says, good night, Star, and folks, have a great remainder of the stream. Thank you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Damn. Yeah, Milena deserves not even just a trophy, a crown. Like, goddamn. Goddamn, this was an amazing write-up.